Boom. Yes. Is there a window? There is a window capture. Don't know. Haven't looked into it ever. I'm gonna turn the stream down a bit. Hello, Mr. Plays. Plubenshire II3564. No. Just me and them. The stream. This is gonna be exciting. They what? Oh. How much is it? That would be. Hi, Paco. That would be funny. Yeah. Oh, I was like, oh my god, it's happening. Yeah. I don't think CP would do EU. We'll be there for NA. Jake. ZP is there.
Welcome
And
everyone.
Jake's
This
there.
is Night Shift. ZP here with Dan and Jake, and no one saw anything. A mute button was definitely not hit. Night Shift though, 42 coming here in the works. And gentlemen, a lot of change here in the scene. Once more, the urn has been changed between broadcasts.
Yeah, it has been changed. I think it's in its best possible place right now. And I think that's pretty good because I'm kind of worrying that so much developer time has just been taken on messing with the urn that we're not getting other things, you know. So I'd be happy for it to stay like this for a bit.
I will say, I mean, I'm a big fan of the current urn. I think it's really interesting, and I think it has like a lot of unique, you know, play options in a sort of an objective that forces you into a certain area is unique in Deadlock right now. And so I think I like it. I'm pretty excited to see what the top teams do with it. I'm also not mad at them, you know, toying around trying to get it right. I feel like, you know, coming from Dota, it's like in 5 years, there's going to be like 24 things to do on the map. And you really want like the first thing to be like settled and done right. So, you know, I'm curious to see what the top teams do and how they approach it today.
Well, speaking of the top teams, if you're new to the show, we got to tell you about the bracket that's coming down today. Same as always here on the Night Shift, we open up with our challenger match in each region and follow through into the money match. And in EU, it's the same top three most weeks here, but it's for good reason. You look at some of the results of the recent open tournaments, Jake, and it's Abraham's Leviathan, Low-Key W on top in EU.
Yeah, I mean, these three, they're breathing rarefied air in EU at this point. You know, I think they've really risen above the rest, but they continue to be competitive with one another. Like, Low-Key W has been on top recently, has been on a really hot streak where they look super dominant. But you got to remember, historically, you know, a few weeks of dominance doesn't mean much historically in EU, right? These teams constantly are vying for those top spots. I'm curious to see if Leviathan, with a rebuilt roster, can put up more of a challenge this week.
And then, Dan, speaking of rebuilds, you look at NA, it's not just FPS Lounge, it's the FPS Lounge that devoured Floormen. Floormen are gone, but many of their players have taken new refuge within FPS Lounge, taking on, you know, what has been a newly rejuvenated Bird with Clock, who looked good over the Night Shift Open.
Hi.
Yeah, it feels like something that when we saw the good performances from Night Shift Open with BWC, like at first I was like, oh yeah, BWC up against Medicreeps, that's going to be somewhat of a stomp. But then you kind of like look at it and you recognize, hey, hang on, all these players, we've seen them before, they've been at the top for quite a while in different iterations, and actually, yeah, they've just been cooking over some time here, and they gave Melee Crews a serious run for their money. Bird Clock might be a new sort of top 2 level team coming into this, especially with some of the changes.
You got 5
it's going to
XP,
take FPS
Jamie's
Lounge
got
some time to
50.
get on their feet with Floormen kind of merging rosters there. So, I mean, we'll have to see.
Look, it's a tradition.
Abraham's
You get some big
Leviathan
tournaments,
is
you get some roster mania.
crazy
But before we go
matchup
any
always.
deeper into the broadcast, gentlemen, we got to thank those who helped make it happen. And of course, I'm talking
Their
about
original
our
crew
patrons
kinda has,
here
but-
on the Night Shift. Is our wall of fame as it is, the board members, executives, managers, all the way down the list. Dan, these are people that, you know, without this,
Not
the
yet,
show
at
simply
least.
could
They
not
might
happen.
be in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it's so great to see all of the continued support here. Deadlock's still very, very early stages. I mean, it's pre-esport kind of. We've created an esports ecosystem, but only because we've had the help of all of you. So massive appreciation every show. I feel like we usually pull a name, right? Jake, what are some names that stand out to you? Let's pull some names out here.
I'm gonna go with King Slime in the manager tier there. King Slime, that kind of jumped out to me. Kind of vibe with it.
Wait, do you know what King Slime is from, though, in terms of what video game series?
I don't actually. Enlighten me.
Dragon Quest.
Oh, okay. I've never played. I'm a Philistine. TF2 Overwatch player.
Hey, look, if you want to get into JRPGs, 2027 is going to be the most ridiculous year of JRPGs ever based on recent announcements. All I'm saying. But it isn't just, you know, the patrons to thank right now. We got thanks to our contributors in the community, starting off with Ozzy and Killinger, who helped bring us a new silver skin. Of course, we were able to release that last week. And it's available. I don't know if we're showing a video again here today, but really, really cool looking skin that you know, so far people have enjoyed. You know, not only watching, but I think it's at over like 4,000 downloads so far. Jake.
Yeah, so we hit the sub goal. Congrats to everybody. Thank you for your support. And you know, the mod is now available for everybody to download. So go check it out. You can play with this in your own games, and you know, of course, put together at the highest quality by our modding and art team. So really impressive stuff. Nice to see Silver a little bit freshened up, you know, from her typical, I think, beer drinking self.
True, yeah. Off to the job interview, yeah. The next day, looking pretty fine. Again, I'm a big fan of the waistcoat. and otherwise known as a vest for your North American ears. But yeah, I think a great job here. I can't wait to see, you know, what's next. I mean, the quality is pretty banging. I mean, is there going to be a day when we've done the entire cast? I wonder.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I don't think we're beating the rate of newly released heroes at our rate of releasing skins. So I feel like the answer to that is no, but we can hit the most popular ones, and that is what's important. What's also important, though, are the rosters to talk about here today. And I'm going to defy the run of show here and get directly into the main storyline, which is the Leviathan roster that we have to look at, because there's been all sorts of changes coming on in. You have Rayek, Irizumi, and Sai out, Dimov, Hapex, and Warcom in. And Hapex, you know, a player, Jake, if you think back to recent tournaments, subbed in for Low-Key W and was the Rem of Death over the course of that tournament. But now Hapex back to being a player, was in the coaching role for a while. And, you know, if anyone know about going from coach back to player and vice versa, you know, you have a little bit of experience in that regard.
All I'm saying is we got to rework the hero portraits. The 5 Mo's and a Holiday had way more aura than this. But we'll get it. We'll get it fixed. We'll get it resolved. But yeah, I mean, great to see players like Dimov coming back into this squad. Yeah, you know, why not? Why not? Another Mo and Krill. I mean, that actually, you know, it does improve things. I'm not gonna lie. Definitely tough to see some of these players like Rayek, Irizumi, and Sai out. I'm excited to see, you know, them reforming back on other teams in the competition, because they've all been strong players. But I think it is kind of clear Leviathan did need some kind of a shakeup. They did need some changes, and they brought together some players that could make a real difference today in the competition.
Also, Dan, is it near as Dimov just trying to collect the Infinity Stones of being on every single top NA and EU team at one point? Subbed in for Melee Creeps last week, was winning with Floormen, also was on Buff and Joras, which is mostly low-key W nowadays, had a tour of duty on Abraham's. Now we got Dimov on Leviathan. He's just basically every team at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely doing the rounds. I think it was actually so cool to see him in North America. That was a... I mean, I can't imagine it's good for his health with the sleep schedule and all of that, but yeah, you know, Dimov is just capturing all the experience. He's making all the connections, you know, so he's going to be in a prime position, you know, when this game really does explode, to have you know, the ability to know that he can play with anyone, anywhere, any time zone. I'm a fan.
Well, of course, moving right along to Abraham's. Of course, Abraham's has been looking really good recently, a runner-up in the Night Shift Open. And while they've been falling short to Low-Key W, very much the number 2 team in EU by recent performance. And, you know, taking a look at their roster here, a little bit more stability, Jake. Yeah. But, you know, the last major roster change they had was bringing on Empty Dreams over Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, Empty Dreams, such a experienced, capable player. I mean, this is going to be really a standard bearer team in EU right now. Like, even if Low-Key W are the top squad, I mean, to take this team as a first-round draw for a new roster coming into competition. I mean, obviously for Leviathan, they had to have, you know, this is the matchup you have to expect, right? You know you're going up against Abrams, but this is not an easy one for your first major outing as a team. They're really going to have to, you know, work hard on this one, because I really like what we've seen out of players like Arzo and Empty Dreams, Sonya showing the flexibility, and then, you know, you have incredibly reliable stalwarts like Saint, Taz, and Together that are just almost always going to deliver a solid performance, a solid game. So Abraham's feels like this team is never out of it until it is completely over. Always excited to see what kind of a show they can put on in the Night Shift.
Dan, I leave the floor open for you to say good things about Sanya Sniper. I feel like that's where you're going to go anyways. Yeah.
yeah. Sanya's great. I mean, I think it's the versatility that we're seeing. We're seeing that part of the evolution of him as a player, which I think it just speaks to the greater point that we've reacted in Deadlock with all these roster changes. A lot of these situations can happen because teams eventually get limited by hero pool, versatility of players. And so if you really want to stay on the top, you got to prove it that you can be flexible. And Sanya Sniper, forever the M1 character that we kind of, I guess, associated with that role at the top level in Europe, has now shown that he can do something completely different, which unlocks a lot for his team. And I mean, just think about some of the crazy drafts that are going to be possible in the future. I mean, that's what we should expect with players becoming flexible like this. And I think Saint is another good example of that. You know, typically the support can flex onto a lot of different stuff. You know, Oberkim, another great example of that. So it's another reason why I think EU is a little bit ahead of NA.
Well, the draft is a great point to bring up, because to decide who's going to get first pick or second pick in our draft here, we got to do our Mo and Krill 1v1. The winner, of course, gets choice of either, and a best of one that does carry a bit of weight, Jake.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to say when these changes come though, like which side is even better. Like it's more of, I think, about teams' preference, whether they want to be first overall or getting those next two to maybe pick up like some sort of a nice combo setup. I'm really just curious overall to see what the meta looks like, because I think you make a change in objective like Earn, it does kind of have huge implications for the wider game, because you know, like the tools you need to contest a new objective are a little bit different, the ways you're going to build your heroes, the strategy you're going to go for. So always curious to see how the pick order comes out, and obviously the Mo 1v1 is where it all begins. Parry, but only a slight melee off of that, so still incredibly even despite the early parry.
All right, we got Dmov in. Dmov versus, of course, the reigning champion of Satan, who did, you know, end up with a little bit of a loss last week, so a little bit of the streak broken. And so far, Dmov giving one of his better fights so far. It's neck and neck.
Uh-oh, it's down to the parries here. Maybe some opportunities for a big heavy hit here. Saints working in the lights, but one is down to the wire. It's actually one of the closer ones we've seen. The mind games are on another level here.
Next hit wins, I think, right? Next hit wins. Oh, Dmov, he managed to get a nice light hit, and he actually takes down the goat. I mean, it's Dmov. I mean, he's good at everything. What a guy, what a man.
The melee minigame, I feel like it has been, it was a little overemphasized on the old Earn of like everybody heavy meleeing the Earn over and over again. I'm kind of glad we got off of that patch, but it is great to see. I mean, there's just like with this one tiny little slice of Deadlock has so much depth to it, even before you consider the wider game. So that will be draft advantage won by Dmov. See where they go with it.
Also, the players are taking a little bit of extra time to hand the draft, so we got a little bit of time to delve into the history, notably the head-to-head history between Abrahams and Leviathan, where, yeah, Leviathan have had some roster changes, but as a team that's been together for a long time, no stranger to going up against Abrahams. You take a look at the Shift history here, it goes way, way back down.
It's mostly in Abraham's favor, but
yeah, this is a long history. I mean, this is getting close to a minor patch from Yoshi, but in terms of our tournament history here, Leviathan and Abraham's been going at it for a long time. But it's gonna be interesting, you know, as you were talking about, we've got this dynamic now where we kind of reset this a little bit in our minds because of the new look Leviathan. And so when we check out the overall winners here, after the back and forth where Abraham's, Loki W, Leviathan all copping wins week to week, finally, it kind of feels like Loki W have asserted themselves. Obviously, between last week's win and the previous loss that Loki W had was the Night Shift Open, where they really truly looked very, very dominant. And it kind of feels like where Loki W are right now, they're going to continue to have a streak for the first time in EU for a while.
Joined on 26.
Okay,
Have to see if they can hold it this week, I would say, because historically, Loki W has not had many runs on top, right? It's been a long, long time since Buff and Joyers were running the table, like months and months. So, I mean, in the past, it was Abraham's to take that spot from them. Maybe the revamped Leviathan roster can put up a challenge today.
Also, I have to call out our chat for just being the most degenerate channel point users of all time, where we're just hearing the calls for people. It's like, let us throw down channel points on the Mo 1v1. Just add another hit. The hit before the actual draft is like, you know, just let me say Saint's going to win. Where, by the way, a lot of people would have lost the house on channel points, but
we should, though. Why not? Why not? Let the people have what they want, even if it's degeneracy. You know what? I'm not.
We should do the pitch to DraftKings and just only do it for the Mo 1v1s.
Yeah, not for the real game.
Also, I am not allowed to participate in those because I usually see the result before it goes on broadcast, and that would actually be insider trading.
It's at crazy, that point. CP. How'd you get 1 billion channel points?
I don't know. It just showed up really in my
smart. It's a really smart bettor.
Notice how you said usually and not doesn't. Kind of suspicious to account CP.
You know, just how it is. But you know, to take the light of guilt away from me here, we're gonna go into the draft, which is hopefully ready. Otherwise, it's gonna get real awkward. Production, save us or save me. There we go. The draft is coming up, and there's gonna be changes in the draft here today. Here, Jake, taking a look at scrims over EU. There's different priorities coming about since the patch, and not the least of which is that Pocket may not be permabanned today.
Yeah, always interesting to see things shift over. And, you know, I think there's going to be a real priority on heroes that can both stay in the Earn zone, and DP getting absolutely baited. Love it. Classic combo. Well, look, still not making it through.
He got through most of the scrims in EU yesterday, and Leviathan is like, well, no, it's the best of one. We're just going to let this go through. The interesting thing, though, Dan, in terms of heroes, is that we saw rumblings of maybe
GT.
Calico getting played. We saw
That
rumblings
is, yeah.
of Mirage
GT
coming
is
back in actually for one
strong
game.
right
We
now.
saw Mirage Calico actually win
You get
one of
those
these
stacks on
scrims. So
birds, you're
things
fucked.
have been changing a little bit.
Yeah, and look, a first ban GT, I don't think we've seen a GT banned at this stage. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we've seen him getting picked, raising the priority of the picks.
Bit of
But
silver
ban
gameplay.
first round, I don't know about that. That's really
Standard.
cool to see.
Ban over
That's a-
silver, right? Like the silver, I think would have been the more common. We see silver
Yeah.
first pick almost constantly, right, in that competitive play.
Yeah.
And to ban GT over it is quite a statement.
I can take whatever they throw at me.
And the other hero that was actually
Okay.
catching a lot of bans, Dan, was Abrams, where people have realized, wait, this hero is actually good again. Abrams is, to me, perpetually stuck in the Shiv cycle of the hero will get nerfed, people will be like, I don't know anymore, and then you give it a few weeks and be like, wait, no, he's still amazing, still one of the best heroes in the game, but in this case, going to be backed
That's
up with
for
Doorman.
Taz.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
a really nice combo.
Yeah, they're both. I mean, Abrams, I think it made a lot of sense just because obviously in these team fight areas where you get all of these, like, the circle meta, as it were, obviously Abrams was rising in popularity at the same time that was happening. And of course, that makes him just even better. With the new round fight too, the King of the Hill, obviously Abrams' performance was still
Team of
really,
or
really well in that.
overseas?
So it's no surprise. The Doorman also is interesting because
Team of Cooked
Doorman's still really
Paradox
sick.
last
With the
time,
bell
so-
builds are very annoying, and the utility, especially for those zone fights, still very effective. So. Pretty
Yeah,
obnoxious
spirit ban
opener
on
for
those bells
Abrahams,
and
or
the
rather
fight
for
is
Leviathan's
creepy as
perspective.
fuck.
Now, Jake, the other hero that's been coming back into play, which probably delights you a little bit, given your hero pool, is Viscous has been a higher priority than you, both for picking and banning,
Viscous.
and oftentimes doesn't get through mid-stage bans nowadays.
Yeah, you can see why. I mean, I think with stuff like GT out of the pool, maybe it'll be less prio, but no, it still goes here early enough. And I do like the character right now. I mean, I had a crazy game the other day where I built not only purple items. It actually brought me back to the old days of Viscous, just nuking people from across the map. And I think what makes this character feel good right now is that you can save people inside of that King of the Hill with the cube, keep them contesting. You can roll and stay alive. Like, you're actually pretty powerful at challenging enemies who are confined to a small radius. So I think the earn change has been great for Viscous, and frankly suits him well. I'm interested to see how Victor plays out this game for Leviathan. I think there's good responses from Abrahams, whether you're putting him in the Baroness Hotel or just disrupting him, poking him from range with Viscous. I like the draft so far from Abrahams.
So, Dan, there's probably some people at home wondering, why in the world would Shiv get banned here, for Leviathan? Doesn't Freemock play Shiv? And, the reality is that even if you have a really good hero or player on a hero, there's only so many people that can play the certain heroes. And for Leviathan, Freemock, he has other priorities
Maybe
on
they'll
this roster.
switch it up and Fremont goes.
Yeah, I mean,
silver.
Freeman can
That's
definitely
true,
do...
but I will say you have D-Mob on your team, right?
True.
So I feel like you're not hurting for Shiv players on Leviathan.
That's going to be a
They go
pain
McGinnis,
in
who
the ass
got
for
nerfed
fight.
pretty heavy, right, in that recent change, and people, I think, really shied away from her. So for Leviathan to go back and at 4th pick is pretty impressive here for McGinnis.
So I'll say there, I was more alluding to the fact that normally it's Freemock on Shiv and Silver, but for Paradox, that's been D-Mob's thing
bit of
recently,
a
where D-Mob is
play.
he's turned into the Paradox player in recent tournaments, where he's like, yep, I'm just going to be playing Paradox nonstop. I mean, who can blame him? He was doing well in Paradox on ping and now gets to come back to EU and play without the ping. But, take a look at the Abrahams end of things here, Dan. Mirage is back in play. And we saw this in scrims
Mirage.
yesterday, so it's not entirely unexpected. In fact, it could
I
still get
saw a
backed up
TikTok,
with
it's like,
Calico, with Sanya on the
Mirage
Calico,
is a good
Maybe
character.
it's the case that people,
No,
there you go.
terrible
CP knows his ball.
for comp.
this
Always
could be one of those things where it's
overfarms,
just taking me a
always
while to
dies
figure it
in
out,
team
like
fights.
how to convert it in a way that
And
it's
the
supposed to.
delusion
So
is
I'm gonna,
maybe he'll work for us.
Reserve some faith in Abrahams here that they know what they're doing with this pick, especially because it's best of one. You don't want to be messing around too much with this draft. This does look kind of interesting. And
7.
speaking of interesting, we're getting to see 7, who is someone that we see more of, someone we've been talking more about. Off camera, we're talking about the reappearance of 7. So great to see it here in the opening matchup too.
I will say, if you think about
With
the
a
game right
McGinnis
now
ult
as like
and
the
the
circle
time
meta,
bomb on Paradox.
this has to be not a free win for
Mina
Leviathan,
and
but
Silver
they
can
look
just go in
drastically
there
stronger to me
willy-nilly.
when it comes to brawling on those earn contests. Whether it's basically every single character on the team. Maybe Silver's not the best at it, but everyone has like something pretty powerful to bring to the
Taz
table.
on Doorman
on
might
those earn
have
fights. And even the
his
Silver ult is just like something that enemy
doors
really
cut
wants
out
to
for
run
him
away
this
from
time.
more often than not, which isn't such a good option for you when you're trying to defend the earn. So Abrahams they're going to have to find a lot of kills, a lot of value on the side lanes from the Venator Mirage, I think, to justify this. I'm also very curious to see how the 7 plays out for Leviathan and how much farm prio it's getting, because as I look at this Leviathan draft, I'm like, is it going to be Victor Mina on the side lanes, or is 7 going to kind of get a side lane? Are we going to get to see the true hyper carry 7 come out in this match?
I think as I've looked at it in the drafts and how people were playing it, like no one was playing Poverty 7 for the most part. Like 7 wants to actually get farm, even though I think realistically a more support build 7 could be more effective than expected. It's just not something teams have been going for. They've usually been putting your position 1 players on it more often than not. But Dan, as I look at the draft here, what are your takes on which team has the advantage early in the mid game? Because I think there's multiple ways it could play out, and also like different ways that Abrahams wants to fight this relative to the Leviathan.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Abrahams have a lot of really awesome ways to pick. Obviously, Calico is still amazing at being an assassin. And Mirage has a lot of mobility as well for either these ganks or the split pushes. And with the current urn, I think one of the things that has changed about it and why we needed to not have it like all the objectives stacked in mid is that there is a value exchange that you can take, where you can say, well, we're going to split push the map. You can have that urn dominance. We don't have to play that game. So Abrahams definitely have good tools for that. Doorman also has a lot of ability to play around both objectives, but also ganks and just be really strong utility. And they've got good save. And so I do think that the stylistic differences in these compositions means that we do have to see completely different win conditions. And I mean, Abrahams, maybe they try to avoid what is strong for Leviathan, but then that puts it on Leviathan. How do they avoid stepping into the disadvantaged situations where all the invasions to the jungle and so on will happen for Abraham? So I like how we have that dynamic kind of presenting itself here.
So Jake, I gotta ask, as far as roster changes go, let's go away from the draft here and go to the more meta elements of this game. Is that Leviathan just made an enormous roster change. When you change out 3 of your players, in many ways you can almost argue it's practically a brand new team. Are we actually gonna see a full strength Leviathan here today, when clearly they've only been screwing with this roster for a little bit?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's like sometimes it can be a disadvantage, right, to be that new team and to be coming together, and maybe things aren't as coordinated. Maybe there's some friction about how your communication works. But also, I think there can be sometimes that honeymoon phase where everyone's excited about the new team together. Everyone puts their best foot forward early on in the history of new team, and magic can happen in that kind of a scenario. So I definitely won't count Leviathan out. On top of the fact that these are all at this point like veteran players who have shown like really impressive results historically. That being said, Abrahams they're tried and true, right? I think like Saints Abrams has always been fantastic from my perspective. Although in this game, maybe he'll be on the Viscus or something else of that nature. But I really like the way Abrahams has played. I think they've getting the Doorman here has looked scary. I'm really curious to see how the Venator Mirage plays out. Like I haven't seen the double carry setup in quite some time, especially in this meta around the urn. Like they need to have like a really strong macro game. So I think for both teams, those key objective fights on top of the early laning phase for somebody like 7 looks super important. Like getting into that jungle, being pretty farm, being pretty itemized to clear things quickly. I'm a 7 enjoyer myself, so I'm actually really curious to see how this character has like an insane win rate. People talk about this a lot. Really insane win rate, even at the highest ranks. But how he just doesn't get touched in pro play. So Leviathan, gonna give him a shot. I'm really excited to see if that one actually plays out for them.
Dan, we are desperately trying to fill time for the players as we're waiting for them to get in the lobby. EU normally doesn't do this to us. It's more of an NA specialty, but free space for you. What are you thinking right now on this draft?
Yeah, no, one thing I was thinking about was I think it's actually really interesting how Abrahams, they do have some interesting tools to deal with some of the scarier teamfight stuff with Leviathan, and a lot of it I think comes back to the utility that Doorman provides with his ultimate, either being able to interrupt a 7 mid-ult, interrupt McGinnis mid-ult, interrupt Silver mid-ult, like throw them all into the Baroness. Also Victor, like taking out some of these particular heroes in the fight. I think most notably Silver when she goes into Lycan Curse. I think that's like very impactful, and there's a lot of variance, right, based on who is Doorman going to be able to ult? Is the ult going to be up? And that can swing, I think, some of these fights pretty drastically. So I do think that Abrahams do have options when they are pushed into this place where they have to team fight, but it is clear that they do need to approach the team fights a bit more specifically. And I think the job of Calico to dive the back line is gonna be really, really key, because otherwise I think the team fights situations will be pretty heavily favored by Leviathan.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting, by the way, just to show how much has changed in even 1 week of the draft, we never did show the Shift 41 hero priority either here or on social media. Truthfully, I probably should have got a post up on that, or we should put on broadcast, but we have a perfect opportunity to reflect on what we saw last week and how it's already different from today. If production happens to have that handy. I just have a lot of faith that we have it, and yeah, there we go. So already you see, relative to last week, you have 7 who got picked once, and that was an NA already making an appearance. You got Calico, who is not around forever, Jake, making her grand return. So already some changes
40
here.
Amateurs last
Interesting
week.
that Billy went completely uncontested in this draft. If
That
I'm not
was
mistaken.
before the
also Lash,
original,
right? Neither of those heroes
changes.
got contested at all, and these have both been very top tier picks for a long time, right? Like teams just say, hey, we want to win these team fights, really valuing it. I wonder if part of that equation actually isn't the change of the urn itself. I think like the fact that you can play in all these different sort of corners while the urn dunk is going on, you can kind of like play that AoE and play under some structure, doesn't make Lash feel a little bit weaker if people are basically just going to hide from his ultimate and maybe mitigate some of the value. And same for Billy. It's like you go for this one big all-in play on Billy, but if people could just play the zone and kind of like time you out, maybe that's not paying off as well. I mean, just a little bit of theory crafting, but it is interesting to see such a huge shift for heroes that were not really changed. Major League Billy was buffed recently. Lash has been strong for a very long time, and for neither of them to get touched, I'm curious if NA has the same take, or if we won't see those heroes making a return.
Yeah. One thing I'll add here as well, ZP, is that I think we can also see the impact of Loki W on this as well, because Loki W actually changed the hero priority, I think, in quite a few ways. You had Warden, who I think until Loki W and Zergy playing him in the Night Shift Open wasn't really someone that people were going to for that M1 role, but Zergy showed that it was really impactful and continued to show dominance on it. And then Rem, I think, is another one. Like teams, where they were playing Rem, but no one was playing Rem nearly as well as Loki W. And so I think that kind of showed the potential there of how you can play Rem at the top level and make it work. And Viscous, I think, is
it
another
either
one.
goes
Viscous
really well or really
W
bad.
Picked time and time again, was a core part of their drafts. And I think that's, I think that some of these, the ones I mentioned, I think it's all Loki W picks that we're seeing here in terms of priority.
The heroes that you may see today that just based again off of some of the scrims we're down EU and NA is that Yamato is getting experimented with more a little bit, and so is Graves. So I don't know if either of those two heroes will stay at 0 over the course of the day. Also, I just kind of think that as far as Abrams go, Abrams is probably going to be in every single game today, whether it be pick or ban. And I think often in the
Abrams
first pick, first ban range from what we saw. Like Abrams has actually been on the rise, and if you were to go week or week, it'd be like, okay, Abrams a little bit more, and suddenly,
I think it's going to
Abrams
be
back on top.
With,
and the one change is that while it didn't come out here, and comedically, Pocket was the very first hero banned. Teams are still a little bit more willing to let Pocket through than they were a week or two ago, where he was just perma first banned no matter what.
I actually think Abrams, maybe
whoever
the
goes through
forced
to the final
of an
is
Abrams charge has just gone up
GG.
drastically in value, because if you're in a scenario where there's one enemy player, like their tankiest guy is just like holding it down inside of the urn zone, and biting is just like basically preventing you from capping, making a lot of time for the rest of the team to like put down damage. Now you really need to have more than one person in the urn zone, or Abrams can just like pin you out, and the dunk is just going to go through, right? So even if you maybe can't deal with the tank in terms of actually finishing them off, dealing the damage, being able to control people's movement and maybe punishing them for stacking up, I feel like Abrams just fights incredibly well in those little areas on the side lanes right around the bridge, right? Just a lot of tight corners where he can kind of jump out and catch you by surprise. On top of the tankiness, to let him be one of those key frontliners holding the line. But that's enough yapping from us, man. We got some games to play.
Yep, the yapping is finally over, though little does Jake know it's going to be thrown directly back into our casters for this game. It's going to be DDK and Jake. Take it away, the broadcast. Dan, you're first to speak. Go for it.
Yeah, we finally get to see this new look Leviathan, which is very interesting. I'm super excited, because the other thing too, Jake, that's worth mentioning is I think Abrahams as well they've kept the continuity of their roster, and they've been looking to work and improve. And so you could also see them level up, and at the same time seeing Leviathan have that kind of maybe honeymoon period. So it should be a really interesting game.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see who ends up piloting what for Leviathan in particular. With some of these new players coming in, I mean, you got players like Dimov, right, who we know are insanely flexible, but you know, I'm curious to see how they actually choose to sort the roster, who goes where, you know, what kind of style they're looking for. And okay, it is going to be together on the Abrams, Saint on the Viscous.
Saint is
definitely, I think for me, eyes on this game on Saint and Taz. Like the explosive spirit nuking from Doorman and Viscous can be a game changer here, especially being able to do things like pop the Victor ulti or you know, punish the Mina if she oversteps. Definitely going to be crucial here. And Sonya on the Calico.
Dimov in
once
EU
again,
games is
a lot of incredible flexibility being showcased here on the server.
Yeah, and OC's on the hero that I always associate with Zergy, I gotta say, on the 7. That's going to be really interesting. OC's is, I mean, if you play Deadlock,
I've only just come to realize that Paradox does so much
considered by a lot of people to be maybe the
gun
best,
damage
like,
already.
Like pound for pound for that M1 role.
As
like
the
if
game
you're talking
goes
the
on,
pure
you
M1
obviously
in Europe right now, OC's is definitely in the argument, if not the best player. And so I'm super excited to see what he's going to do with 7. Now 7's made his way back in to the meta, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, Zipknocker ass here on the Together, always a nice one for Workham, which somebody who we haven't talked about is a bit of a newcomer to the space. I don't know that Workham has played on the Night Shift before. I haven't really heard them. Maybe I'm wrong, but definitely exciting. You know, for me, I think Deadlock, we started to have this idea of like, hey, the players have built real history, but I think more than just about any other game that's being played competitively right now, there's incredible room for newcomers. We've seen that in NA recently, and here in EU as well, right? Like, there is still the opportunity for people to break in. You know, you maybe think the top players are insanely good right now, but just you wait a couple of years, it's going to be a lot crazier. So excited to get fresh faces here on the competition.
Yeah, totally agree. It's going to be really cool to see what teams, new teams pop up over time. It's inevitable. I think we've been seeing it here on the Night Shift over time. So that said, is there any favorites here for you, Jake? You know, we talked a little bit about some of the, not necessarily the win conditions, but the strengths stylistically of these drafts, like where they're going to have the inherent advantage, whether that's the team fights or the pick game. And so I'm curious what your take is on which of these teams is going to have the advantages in the lane. Who needs to have who is it more important for to have that tempo coming out of the early lane phase?
Ooh, Sonya does get a kill onto OCs, and honestly, I can kind of see it both ways. I think Abrahams has a draft with, other than Mirage and Venator, right? There's a pretty sick fighting group of 4 here, which typically how I'm looking at Deadlock drafts these days is like, who are the 4 that are going to fight around mid lane, and who are the 2 that are going to play side? I mean, it's oversimplification, right? The game ends up being a lot more nuanced than that, but at its most base level, that group of 4 looks insane for Abrahams. I'm also just super curious to see how the farm actually ends up stacking up between somebody like 7 and a more conventional carry. Obviously, 7 going down early definitely hurts. I mean, this is a hero who is not necessarily the best laner, but you just want to come out of the lane, reasonably farm the tower if you can hold it to provide a space for you to hit that jungle. It's really the goal on the 7, so definitely eyes on OC to see how he can recover this game.
Good pressure here in the mid lane from Abrahams and the Mirage. Well, getting really aggressive as well. The quick parry on the tower. Something I'll also add on top of the point about 7 is the lane partner. You've got McGinnis there, which has been played by Hapex. And McGinnis is really interesting because she's very strong in the laning phase. And so what you could see is McGinnis helping to win that lane very quickly with 7. And then you just move McGinnis elsewhere. And then you've got a 7 kind of more guaranteed that solo farm a little bit earlier.
Yeah, definitely. If they can, you know, take that tower, would be huge. I will say Arzo and Sonya have done a fantastic job stabilizing things. This should just see Victor as well in the mid for overseas. I think definitely another.
I feel like 7 doesn't
that
have that.
Wants to have a solid game here, right? Wants to be tanky enough that that incoming damage on the earn fight is tolerable, even when it is these like heavy spirit nukes. Curious also to see what build Victor goes for. I mean, we've seen really committed gun builds on Victor. Obviously, I think the original Victor build is like the super heavy spirit and lifesteal strat. But you know, I think things are open, right? With an objective change, the priorities on the builds change too.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, we're getting to the 5-minute mark now. And so we have those bridge buffs coming up momentarily. It'll be cool to see, you know, how those fights go. I think, you know, one of the things that Abrams is really good at is definitely those bridge buff fights. We've got priority looking, or teams looking for priority on their waves so that they can manage to get to that bridge buff position quicker.
It's a nasty lane too. Silver Mina, like this is gonna hit very hard. Viscous Abrams is incredibly durable, but even, you know, it's hard to imagine, I think, any lane really gonna be tanking through the output from Silver and Mina when the ults come up.
Abrams got both of the buffs too. I actually kind of felt like, especially with that little push right there on that Abrams lane, that Leviathan were going to have positioning for it,
I'm
but they
slightly
actually lost out on
biased
both
because
buffs.
I want
Not the craziest buffs though, you know, vitality and speed buff.
Abrahams to do well.
But still, definitely helpful as this tower goes down. And we talked about the importance for it to go the other way. This is great work here. And they're going very deep here. Oh, what a shot, the flick. But Iridomini, you love to see that. Sanya Sniper's still here fighting. But, I mean, this lane, I feel like, has gone very, very well here for the Abraham side.
Yeah, the fact you're able to get this take is definitely something very nice. I will say, I think 7 doesn't completely losing the tower. McGinnis is going to almost certainly roam and maybe look elsewhere. And there's a lot of space for 7 to maybe farm up. Very curious to see what the build is. It's really surprising me that 7 hasn't bought more items here. And with like the headshot booster, or no, what's it called? Is it crippling?
Weakening
It's
headshot.
not crippling. Weakening headshot. That is
Yeah.
It's like a very odd buy for me. I guess it works on creeps now, so
Yeah, it does, yeah.
it's not crazy, but I don't think I've ever seen this item bought this early on 7.
Yeah, it should definitely speed up the farming a lot, but yeah, it is interesting. I mean, obviously it's OCs, right? OCs is the author of all the builds we all follow, so I guess we just have to trust that it makes sense.
Yeah, that's the thing. If anyone was gonna show off a new build here, it would be OCs. That guy is definitely one of the leaders in terms of the meta right now. It's like we've lost a Victor ult on mid. A lot of pressure here coming in from Empty Dreams. This vitality buff is paying crazy dividends. He's been healing the entire duration of this. McGinnis puts her life on the line to defend the tower, which will work for now, but feels like a matter of time. Calico's coming in, looking for the finish. No ulti on Victor, but doesn't think she can get that chase down.
Yeah, definitely good deflection from Leviathan on that mid lane. I thought Abrahams are going to have a better time of it with the 3-player aggression. But speaking of 3-player aggression, we do have the same thing now for Leviathan on the right side of the map, challenging into what is a very weak Guardian as McGinnis gets sent into the Baroness. I don't know if they can follow up on that, but in the meantime, this right side Guardian does go down.
Okay, Ben.
Yeah, a couple Guardian takes coming in for Abrams. See if they can find more. Freemock on a little movement showcase here. But yeah, the Baroness, I think that's going to be good enough to open up this tower. And this is something that, I mean, with McGinnis, Victor in mid, you really wanted to avoid. So Taz showing the power of Doorman, just getting rid of your defender. But maybe the counter push is going to come right in. This looks to be shaping up for a major team fight.
Yeah, there's good zoning with the McGinnis wall, but a lot of defensive capabilities brought in by Abrahams, forcing the push back here. And now suddenly, very vulnerable players for Leviathan. They thought they were in a good spot there for that push, but the tables have been turned. I mean, to go all the way back to the Walker. Oh my goodness. Just barely surviving his free mark, but even if he survives, I mean, a lot of value, I would say, from Abrahams on that defense.
Calico.
Yeah, this is huge. I mean, you get pushed back. Sinners just spawned. I mean, there's going to be a price paid for this. Abrams already up to a 6K soul lead.
Hey, you see what Calico just bought? That is a trophy collector Calico.
I mean, hey, I think if there's a hero who's going to do it, right, it should be Calico. This makes way too much sense. Maybe she's a little bit too deep, though. Has ulti. Should be okay to play her way out of this, but pulling a lot of attention, and there's more fight on this side of the door as well.
Are they still going to keep chasing, though? I mean, they're getting blocked by a few of the players. Might still be able to make it out. There's still a lead now available. So, oh yeah, they're cutting line of sight here. Wow, I love that. I love the ult through the door. That's pretty cool.
Taz pops everything for now. Delays things, but there could be an opportunity here. Demo picks up a Guardian. Remux still has ultimate, but it's gonna maybe struggle to proc it. The damage is coming in. They're really trying to just burst this Silver down. That decay from Viscous is starting to bite, and with just a little bit of HP left, yeah, Silver just has to run for it. Abrams slams in over the top. Fremont can't really get into this fight, and Abrams throwing their weight around on the map right now.
I wonder if Fremont will live here, but if so, that'd be two just ridiculous escapes that Fremont has already had this game. Escaping the ball there, I thought that ball lockdown, and that was like so cool, and a little smart setup there, combined with the Doorman Baroness. But so far we're seeing priority from Abrahams all across the map. The scoreline's pretty close at 6k
managed
advantage for them, but they
run
are really
away.
winning all of these fights. You know, when they come in for the defense, they always push Leviathan back so far. Their presence across the entire map has been really annoying, and I think, you know, we talked about how Calico really adds to that, and we have seen that, I think, from Sanya's Sniper. He's been very annoying, but with that said, you know, with Calico, you've got to be careful about your soul value, but the bridge bus come up here, and once again, looking good for Abrahams.
Yeah, big snipe. Dimov grabs the buff, but pays with his life. Does not feel worth there. Mino over the top, putting down a bit of damage, and she still has the Sanguine to play her way out, but in the end, Saint still stays alive here on the Viscous. And Leviathan get bullied back. They do not get to escape that with a buff, just denying the Spirit buff, but it feels like that's probably not worth your life on Dimov.
Absolutely. That's a nice Deeping Slash there. Return the Shadows to get out of dodge. But this is it. OC's farmed up, doing a nice bit of damage overhead, controlling the space, and that will secure this Guardian as well. So that's a nice pickup. We had an urn coming up in a minute, so you do need to do that setup work for the map control. And Fremont, I don't think he's getting out of it this time.
Yeah, surely he's going to take out. I mean, he cannot take the full damage here, but it looks like he will. Just gets popped. Trophy collector stacks maybe starting to get up here. I mean, Sanya's getting involved in all of these fights.
The active barrier.
7-0 from OCs though, definitely showing threat, and he's going for, I think,
I love
pretty much a gun
Enchanted
build
though.
on 7. I'm curious if he'll maybe go back towards Spirit now, or if he'll stick with a committed gun. I have seen that build look good before. Mirage goes all in, but maybe wasn't expecting this. Dimov showing up for the counter kill, walled in by McGinnis as well, and that's a really nice kill to find. Empty Dreams trying to make a play on the side lane, but Tation comes in to punish.
And here again, you know, this is exactly why Calico is so expert. I mean, I don't think anyone can do it better than
gets killed.
Calico. Goodbye.
So close. Overseas was, I mean, what, like 20 HP, 10 HP? He had to be down to the absolute wire. Kill would have been super worth if Sonic could find it, but in this case, just doesn't quite have the gas.
You got to worry about those stomps. They're much more dangerous now. Okay, quick escape there, but we do have one coming up here, Jake, and we know we talked about it. Leviathan have a really good setup. They got all the circles for these urn fights. So how will Abrahams handle it?
Does that help against?
Yeah, I mean, this is the moment where they should be strong. They need to be strong. Mirage getting kind of swarmed, hit from all sides, but the roll comes in from Saint. Even he just doesn't have the HP. OCs brings him down. It's just that raw gun damage. And with the Lycan Curse proc, they're going to get a free pickup here.
Protect the Urn Runner.
Okay, across the map they go. And I don't know how this defense is going to look for Abrahams. They're going to be looking to take the Guardian down. They should be successful here. We've got Arzo picking that one up. So looking to be in position to potentially fight for this. And at the same time, Leviathan, they have to get more players over there. They will have 3 players for the initial drop-off, but looks like Abrahams will have 4 players. 5 players now for this contest. So this does get kind of interesting.
Not worth losing.
In terms of the ultimates, there is plenty available for Abrahams. Although we really think about Leviathan's ultimates more so for these team fights.
I mean, they're
Now
only
having to
3k
just
behind.
hold the urn. And one of the new dynamics, Jake, is you can't hold it forever anymore.
Yeah, right. It's,
want
you know,
everything,
you can juggle it for a little while, but eventually it's going to start to hurt. It's going to start to put that damage down. Sonya is scouted, which, I mean, there is real kill threat from Dimov here with the slowing hex. Fremont holding the urn, but you can see it just doesn't last for long. Oh, this is a huge gank. Instant kill. The Empty Dreams gets basically nothing off in that fight. Sonya ults and just tries to run away, but there's a chase down coming in. I mean, I don't think Dimov is going to let this one go easy.
This is a very important kill to find. Long just before Sanya's able to cut line of sight. It's taken out. And it's going to be reset completely. So even on the overall souls, and we get pressure from both teams on either side of the map here on these walkers. So I feel like we're kind of resetting Jake into more of a neutral position, but now that the urn's been collected again, will Leviathan go for it this time?
It feels like I'm surprised they didn't go before. I mean, with both Seminole and Victoralt, but the patience works out, right? They're able to punish Mirage on the side lane. A couple key ultimates are out. Like Abrams ult not being available. Even the Calico ult, definitely something you'd like to have around the urn fight. Abrams are showing presence, so it shows to me that they are not going to give this one up for free.
Okay.
McGinnis is going to defend mid, but it looks like a fight is going to break out around the urn. But meanwhile, 7 and Nino are on the other side of the map, so it looks like maybe another fake out of Leviathan. They just kill off Empty Dreams again. They bait the urn again, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I just can't seem to get it across, but big fight breaking up between Night Swap under the Walker. The stop won't come in time to really convert on top of that one. It looks like Abrahams have all the positioning here. They've managed to hold, but they don't have the Walker just yet. They don't have the urn. But speaking of Walkers, they're going to lose one of their own here on the left side. So this actually is a great trade for Leviathan.
Yeah, great macro from Leviathan. They just never had any intention of committing to that urn fight. Abrams, though, coming in, trying to collapse on these players. They're staying a little bit greedy. Seven and Mina sticking around after taking the tower, but looks like they're too much for just Saint and Empty Dreams to handle, even with the rotation in. Like, they get kind of bullied back here. And, I mean, the net worth is starting to explode a little bit here on OCs.
It's pretty scary. We'll get a pause. We can survey, you and I, Jake. We can survey the buys, the builds. He's got to charge his headset. All right, so we got like at least a minute, depending on how fast that thing charges. Hope it's USB-C. All right.
Plug in.
What do we got here?
I like this build from Seven.
Yeah.
I will say this is a very this is extremely competitive build. Like he's going full shred, so he's not really. This is not the solo carry 7 build in your pubs. This is a very powerful build at enabling your teammates, right? Like the spirit damage he does from his 3rd skill does disgusting status effects on the opposition here. I mean, it's like you're getting multiple kinds of bullet and spirit resist shred, the headshot shreds, your 3 maxed naturally shreds, you have suppressor on it. I mean, he has I think it's every debuff you can get. I mean, he'd go like Mystic Slow or something.
Yeah.
Feels a little much, but it's looking really like powerful for enabling the rest of the squad. Like if you're fighting the 7 and then things like Mina comes in, McGinnis comes in with an ult, the Victor's running in, like that shred is going to add up like crazy. And, you know, I'm worried about Abrahams because their front line is essentially Abrams and like Calico, but for Arzo and Empty Dreams, if you get caught, like you are not going to have the tankiness that you might expect on somebody like a Venator.
It's interesting because it's very reminiscent of these old Crow Vindicta builds. If you guys remember that, like that version of Vindicta when the Crow was very different. Where yeah, it's huge impact for the shred on these fights, and we're gonna get a chase down now onto Taz.
Taz in trouble.
He doesn't have Baroness. Oh my God! Here comes the bull though, like a scene from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, running him down. Space created for the ball, but I think he's probably just gonna have to be satisfied with saving Taz. Lycan Curse is proc from Fremont, which I don't think he's gonna be super happy about. A chase down getting attempted here onto Victor, who doesn't have ultimate, which looks to be going very nicely here. Finally, Empty Dreams get us a little bit of revenge for these side lane ganks that have been so often turned against him. Overseas maybe getting a little bit greedy farming so deep.
Here comes Fremont looking to get a gank and got shotted away, so can't get that slow down, that burst onto Alzo is looking for, but at least forces him back a little bit, and space control is important. And right now, the whole Leviathan team kind of blocking the put down of that urn at the moment for the urn fight. It's been interesting how it's been challenging for both teams to really get that King of the Hill situation going. I don't think we've really have we had it? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it shows both teams have basically opted to fake with control, right? Like, you know, they're going for a pretty committed. There's 3 players pushing the side lane here with the Mirage, so no intention from Abrahams to actually go for this dunk. See if Dimov could find a catch or a swap here. It's like they do need to punish. Urn is taking Abrams, though. I don't know about going for this dunk. Yeah, he is just faking, making them think that he's committed. But yeah, you just can't hold the Urn really any longer. Even Abrams, right, with his Infernal Resilience, it's like, it just hurts too much. You got to go back to the base, got to take a reset.
Yeah, really interesting situation. We didn't end up seeing either team committing in for the trade on the Walkers, which was kind of brewing. And it's interesting too, because we talked about Abrahams. They don't really want to go for these team fights themselves. Like that's kind of a part of their strategy, I would say. Now, I feel like we've seen that play out, Jake. And what we have also seen play out is trying to prioritize creating arguments or positions for them to find pickoffs and catch people out. And that they have been doing quite well. But even still, even game, and the Urn's going across yet again.
I mean, it's interesting at this point, like the Urn's been delayed so much, it's not even worth that many souls. Like 3,000 souls at this point, like both teams nearing 90. It's a little bit more of a rounding error, but you know, still worth if you can get that dunk in. Looks like it is going to be forced here. Abraham's thinking about it, or nope, they're baiting once again. No, and Leviathan are very ready for the contest, and I mean, both teams have. I think no one wants to make the mistake. I think both teams recognize this game is basically dead even, and you know, no one wants to take the gamble. No one feels confident to take the risk.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. And again, just gets zoned away. And I like this movement from Leviathan. 3 players looking to kind of split off. and find picks in middle. The chase down onto Mirage, onto Empty Dreams.
Yeah.
Can't quite find him. Uncollected yet again. Might actually get deposited. I mean, Abrams in position to do it, I believe.
Yeah, the waves are so good for them. But Victor is going to be able to hold this down for a long time. Here he comes overseas, stepping in, grabbing some capture charge himself.
He's just running.
See what Abrams can find here. Would love to be able to get up some nice stuns. Major team fight looks to be developing here. Mina over the top. Nox Nostra puts some nice damage down. Overseas, loses the ult, creates a little bit of zone of terror, zone of control, but the Abrams slams back down. Could start to look for more targets, have better health here for sure on Abrams. OCs opens up with the ultimate, last resort now. But the knockdown comes in, Sevens out of the sky, unable to really deal damage, and this looks to be going well for Abrahams. It's not over yet.
Yeah, still quite a few players up. Health is getting low though, together on Abrams, about to die. And out of the Baroness finally comes Fremont from that Lycan curse. And if he can just refresh that curse, it's going to be a great spot. But it sounds like the curse will not get reset, but still some kills coming in here now for Leviathan. We've got 4 players remaining right now. All out brawl. You've got Taz who's waiting on the other side from the door, outside of the zone right now, just playing with that door for positional advantage and really making Doorman look really strong right now. And the advantage definitely with Abrahams, but Leviathan still really looking to make this go, and the souls might just get thrown into the sky very shortly here, Jake, because this fight won't stop.
Yeah, we're down to the absolute wire here, which would be a win for Leviathan. They can hold on. Overseas is back into this fight off the respawn.
I haven't seen
Looks like a lot of the souls picked up by Overseas. But so many kills go the way of Abrahams in this fight. A lot of low players though, and with the respawns
I feel like
coming
it's
in,
going to be like that quite a bit.
maybe there's going to be one last chase down here
until there's a clear like dominant
it's
team.
Actually a closer fight than you would think, especially if Arzo goes down off the finish. Cube is gonna maybe delay that for a moment. OCs really wants to finish some of these kills, but the Viscus provides massive value.
Oh, what a
parry as well. Arzo is fighting insanely well with basically no HP left to speak of. Does go down eventually.
Yeah, there was no way they don't
and as
chase
the dust settles,
Arzo.
I don't know that either team leaves this fight much better than how they came in.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I got to say that
There's
fight
only
was
2 ults at the moment.
extremely lengthy. Yeah, it does test some of our assumptions out a little bit, because we did get to start off with the Victor roll. We got started off with the 7 ult as well to control space, things that we thought would really be high value, but didn't ultimately end up impacting the fight all that much, as Abrahams played it really, really well to deny, using the knockdown on 7 ult. Able to dodge the Victor ult. They use the Doorman as well to escape some of these bigger abilities while still keeping people in the zone. So yeah, just great play from Abrahams, I've got to say. And now the question is, what's next on the map now that we're about to have another
little shot.
Actually,
I mean, it's interesting. Victor does not feel like the menace on the urn that he was. And oh, by the way, not urn anymore. A force on the mid boss. Really wild look from Abrams, but OCs is down. So they're going to go for it with the long spawn timer. Leviathan definitely going to look for the contest here, but Taz has the door in the pit, so this is going to get wild.
Yeah, very easy to have a quick escape here. Oh, charging somebody out into the Walker Stomp. Able to dodge that one, though. This is very, very challenging to get away from this one. I mean, we've had lots of daring escapes from Fremont, but he's got a lot of players on his tail, and that's going to be the end of him.
Now
comes the Rejuve Crystal, falling down Nox Nostra from the 7s, and it is a burger box bonanza, but it's Abrahams that pick up every single Rejuve Crystal. They're going to lose a couple players, though, real quick. Still, though, very even here, as now if we start to see Arzo making his presence known in this fight, really dominant. Some of those turrets annoying, but really, at the end of it, nothing against the charge from Abrams, and Abrahams coming out once again better in these team fights.
This is where they just push.
I mean, Abrams, this is just the best team in the world when it comes to the mid-boss pit. I feel like for as long as they've been a team, they have been snatching away mid-bosses. So incredible play from them. The pin through the door, setting up that first 2 combo to eventually clean up Fremont, and then able to get back into the pit just in time, calculating
it still
it perfectly.
applies when I say hi, Billy.
A little bit of attempt on the Walker. Together's going to catch a stop there, but in the end, damage is done. Walker goes down, and with 2 Rejuve Crystals to play with,
yesterday.
Abrahams may have done enough to really crack this game open. Not finished yet, but with just the 2 Sidewalkers to take, you certainly feel good about their chances.
Gentlemen, I need to come in here with a special request from the public. They want to know, how many trophy collector stacks are we at for Calico?
Of course they do. So we can get a mouse over from the observers. They should have some sort of visual.
I bet you guys anything. When we're in arenas, right, for this game, we're going to do, in the middle of a broadcast, trophy collector stacks. And the crowd's going to go wild for it. Guaranteed.
Stacks is, I mean, this is pretty massive, right? You know, Trophy Collector, it's definitely something nice to have.
Speedy
here for Calico
Gonzalez.
because it really lets her just stay, you know, in her lane, constantly looking for kills and team fights, not really needing to ever do many jungle camps, which clears the way for players like Empty Dreams and Arzo to just farm up an absolute storm, which, I mean, these last successful team fights have really ensured for them. Ricochet picked up now for Empty Dreams, and we were worried potentially about this double carry setup, but Abraham's, it feels like they've maybe cleared the toughest hurdle of the game, getting past that Urn fight, getting into a mid boss, and the later the game goes, it feels like you gotta like the odds of a Mirage and a Venator together.
Yeah, it's really very interesting to see how it's played out based on some of the theory that we were doing for the draft. Abraham's making this conflict really, really good, and I mean, more importantly, the Mirage. Like, if they end up winning this game, oh my God, the Mirage storyline. It's been truly desperate and devoid of any joy for the last few weeks.
It's like a bit of an attempt here coming in on the silver. She got a couple shields, but will it be enough? Decay taking down on her. They're a little bit scared of overextending into a Lycan Curse, but I mean, these call bells just keep hitting from Taz. Earning control from Mina, but she has to back up, man. It's a question of whether she'll even be able to hang on to this Walker, much less the Urn.
I have noticed that most Minas that I play against
Porter is on fire at the moment for Abraham's resistance. Look to assault this Walker and once again zone away the Urn. It just feels like they've had complete control for the most part in this game. They've looked really, really good. They did go down one Walker earlier on. Did Leviathan had a bit of trade, but since then, the macro looking good and looking to use those McGinnis walls to try to get these pickoffs here. Still though, despite that, Abrahams just are an oppressive force. They're able to force their will onto this game, Jake.
See if they can find any more out of this. Empty Dreams went pretty deep for that one, but the cube is gonna purge everything off. Saint definitely been worth his weight in gold on Viscous this game. A lot of big saves. Refreshers picked up for overseas though. That's a very nice buy, especially with Urn in contest. And Rejuve's gonna expire before this objective goes down. Leviathan though, they are down the McGinnis. I mean, down a pretty meaningful amount of souls and a player. It's scary, but
Rejuves are about to expire.
We've seen these fights go incredibly long, you know, past even spawn timer. So I'd expect Leviathan to maybe give a challenge here.
For McGinnis.
Yeah, in for the Urn fight. This is a scary situation. Leviathan having to come into the attack. We'll see if they're able to make it work out here. Looking to get a nice swap in, and that's going to be a good conversion onto Viscous.
Huge kill.
Huge kill early on, absolutely.
They got demove.
Could be enough. 7 all over the top is cooking everyone. On top of that fact, the Victor ult in the low ground.
Abrams.
Pretty hard to evade the stuns. OC's escalating here, just ticking down everybody. The duration of this ulti, absolutely unmatched right now. And Abraham starting to tick out that initial kill on Saint. Pays huge dividends now. Those carries feel so much more accessible, so much more vulnerable. OC's with the stun in, looks good to connect, finishes off the Mirage himself, and gets the AoE on the Venator. This could turn into an entire team wipe. Leviathan could have just brought the game back with one fight.
But Abrahams have better team play.
Crazy, a ton of events.
And that's how
another crazy ton of events. I'm gonna throw it over to ZP. I got to vanish for a little bit, so ZP is gonna take over for me.
All right, getting tagged in, the tag team match here, Jake, and yeah, what a time to get tagged back in. Leviathan, they have completely come back into this game. It was looking potentially over, especially when they're down like nearly 20k plus Rejuve, and the soul graph here, Jake, it tells the tale.
I mean, Dan just popped his ult, man. He's swapping. He's coming back in a bit, but glad to have you here, ZP. Unstopped gets picked up by OC's, the prize for that fight, and that feels amazing. Like this, right? Just being able to deliver the pain, and I feel like 7 showed his worth in this new Urn fight, right? Like, you know, some of those smaller AoEs, they're still powerful, but you know, when it comes to the AoE circles game, you cannot compete with 7. I mean, that ult always stays on top.
Mid boss.
The wild part there is that the ult was able to stay with that level of uptime pre-unstoppable. It was just OC's having a right read on, hey, I can pop it here, get away with it, and yeah, I mean, if a 7 gets that amount of uptime on Stormcloud, you're probably going to win the fight. Just how it works. And I mean, now 158k, 159k. Nearly 30 minutes in, this game easily has the potential, Jake, to go 40 minutes long, which again, I think comp-wise, Abraham's maybe a little bit happy for that. It's kind of a mixed bag where you have the Mirage and the Ven, so on one hand, you do scale pretty well late. On the other hand, you have Calico, where even just looking at the damage done, her overall damage into the late game, it gets worse.
Another fight breaking out in the mid. Nox Nostra trying to come in over the top, layer down some damage, but Fremont's already out of the fight. So Abrahams, now it's their turn to start with an advantage. Seems like Leviathan maybe just want to lick their wounds and catch a reset.
Venator that doesn't just go off.
Not wanting to overextend into this one. No, it looks like Overseas actually didn't commit to buying that refresher we saw him buy, but instead went for a Scourge, which does feel pretty strong in this game if you're getting on top of characters like Venator or Abrams. Again, is doing her best to keep contest of this mid space, but definitely showing the cracks. I mean, whoever finds those early pickoffs has a huge edge. With mid boss opening, I feel like knowing Abrahams, they have to go for the flip here.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Silver being down, where, by the way, Abrahams has taken immense care this entire game to target Fremok first in fights, where it's usually been together, setting the stage with Sanya jumping in right after, but it's not a full mid-boss here, Jake. They have a little bit of damage on mid-boss, but otherwise they want to take the fight up top. They want to go for what's actually more of a 5v5, because while they're going for the fight up top, Arzo is a little bit late to the party.
A lot of ults already out now from Abrahams, but it doesn't seem like they've got many connections, although hold on, Seven finds himself in a tough spot, has to bump the unstoppable ulti, but the damage is coming in and it's hurting. I don't know that he's going to be able to stick around for long. 3 procs from Mirage, plays on the high ground, but Calico comes in, finishes him off 90 seconds on the deck for OCs. That is backbreaking.
Yeah, that's the downside. Of course, spawn timers changed a while back, and yeah, when you're this rich, it comes with the big penalty of you take a seat for a long time when you go down. So once more, Abrahams, 6 on 5. Don't have to worry about OCs, the most farmed on Leviathan. Shouldn't be a fake this time around, and you're still playing with Doorman, and you have Mirage for the Dust Devils. Fremok just gets evaporated, walks into the pit, instantly goes away. And now the swap comes in from D-Mob. Is it enough to get any of these crystals here? Parries are out, but no, every single rejuve going the way of Abrahams. Leviathan finds himself on the back foot once more.
Oh, it looked so promising in moments for Leviathan, but Abrahams once again coming away with all of the prizes. Verkum caught by this Dorman ulti and coming back into a world of hurt. Waves are not bad. Honestly, there's a wave crashing here on the base. Abrahams, they could really drop, they could get maybe the patron here, at least one shrine going down though for sure.
They only need one person going.
Yeah, I mean, Abrahams, if you don't walk away from this with at least one shrine, you are very, very sad. You take a look at how they're spraying it out. What's the plan for Empty Dreams? Give Mirage even more farm. One thing I do want to check in on those golden statues were even earlier in the game, Jake. Abrahams had a pretty substantial golden statue lead, and I feel like that may be even more now. And yeah, I mean, look at the amount of power they have team-wide from golden statues. It's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah, nice little full dunk for Abrams. Together gonna get rich off this one. Mirage, I mean, those status effects are starting to stack up. I feel like once you get this toxic inhibitor Ricochet, this is when Mirage just becomes a demon in these long fights. Like, you have to deal with the Mirage, but he's so hard to find and punish in the chaos of a team fight. You have so many other threats to worry about.
Yeah, so they've
you hit a good point there of so many other threats to worry about. Is that maybe this is the secret to make Mirage work, is that you do pair up Mirage with something like a Venator, so you can't do the standard gameplay of how people are neutralizing Mirage of, throw in all resources, dive Mirage, because if everyone dives Mirage, you're gonna get ripped apart by the 40k Ven. So in a way, having both Ven and Mirage gives enough of a threat that you can't actually just full dive the Mirage in every fight and have it be a working strategy.
I found it really weird to use.
Yeah, I think Viscus is also a huge part of that too, right? Having the best save in the game in the cube, able to be deployed on these hard carries, means that, it's even if you're not even worried about Venator, like just actually being able to kill off one of these hard carries with a full dive
I don't like
is
Silver
very much in
or
question.
Shiv's weapons.
Some decisions though to be made for Abrams now. I mean, they don't have any kills on the map, and I don't suspect Leviathan will give them to them, but do they go for the dry siege, try to get this next shrine, try to drop the patron? Because I don't know that they have one more back out in them. Abrams gonna step up with Scourge and just soak the fight into Fremok. Fremok really needs to get this Lycan Curse, but the burst is instant on him. Arzo overwhelmed. Some big damage coming in from the animation on and hold on, Abrahams gonna lose their rejuves, and actually there's a fight to be had.
The rejuves have been burned. Leviathan trying to make the most of it. The problem is rejuve's been used pretty well. Iradomini coming out from afar. Not being shot at the 7 here just yet, looking for other targets. Instead finds the McGinnis, the shot through the dark. And now Abrahams, I mean,
Doorman holds him in the sky. Taz, how did you get up there? He doored up to the top of the roof. I don't think I've even seen that.
Jake, the lesson learned here, rejuves are made to be used. Effective use out of Abrahams. It's going to get him the shrine, it gets some extra kills, and it maybe is just going to be the game depending on how long they want to stay here.
Yeah, desperation now, Leviathan. They have to come in and get some kind of a counter kill off of this. Markham trying to do what he can, but everyone on Abrams doing fantastic, protecting each other. Mina just plays that perfectly, I will say, to be as much of a distraction as possible, but it has to just be one final throne fight. And Abraham's, they're going to drop.
Are they
going
to lose their walker?
They're going to stick around for this.
Hidden king.
We'll see.
That'd
First
be
stage
funny.
patron is going on down. You don't have the rejuves anymore, and you have a substantial lead.
Yeah,
Remember,
true.
it's still best of one, and Abrahams knows better than others how things can flip. So they're going to be taking a step back. I think it's the right call in the situation where, yeah, maybe you could all-in dive, but why? You have such a big advantage.
Yeah,
You can just
going
win in other ways.
I like this force, though. This is the kind of gamble you have to go for. But they just don't see the opportunity. In fairness, it's the game is, you know, this is one of those scenarios where do you have a 5% chance to win forcing a fight, or a 4% chance to win
This is
trying
an
to hold the
issue when you're
defense,
this
you know,
far
in this
into
kind
the
of a
game.
terrible
Like,
situation in the game.
Realistically, you need that walker.
I think
gone
history's
already
kind of
to
started
be
to
able have
show
a
that
chance to come
it's
back.
better off going for the wild fight outside of base than trying to defend in base in these situations. Like, you have to make something happen. Is it likely to go well for Leviathan with this sort of stat difference? No, but I mean, there's a possibility. Ideal world, I think, for Leviathan is that you have a fight where Fremont doesn't get blown up
wasn't
immediately. Because the way these team fights have been going down,
sort
Jake,
of
almost every time it's
limited
together
on
and
what he could do
Sanya
this game.
just insta-jumping Fremont, and I don't even think Fremont has been able to get in the Wolf half the time.
Yeah, he's just getting absolutely assassinated, and even players like Arzo stepping up to take that challenge at close range. So
Yeah,
for Fremont,
on,
game's feeling really rough. I mean, this happens. No Biscuits, there's no Ram on the team. Like these really powerful hard saves that would normally, I mean, Abrahams has been used to great effect to punish the initial engagement. They haven't been quite coming through. You know, you wonder about this game maybe with like someone building a divine barrier for Fremont, but you know, it's hard when you don't have the heroes that are going to naturally go that direction.
Also, in terms of where heroes want to be farm-wise, you know, you have two really hyper-farm people in both the Ven and the Mirage, and then, you know, by comparison, you know, I think in terms of an opening outing for Workham for Leviathan, it hasn't been bad, but, you know, for Mina at this stage in the game, you do want to be, like, about 10k higher to have a really big impact on the game. I mean, Mina's burst just does not have the same impact
So he's just like,
if you're just
not?
average or below the curve in a game like this.
Once again, Fremont gets initiated on. There's a ton of Abrams players here converging on his position. And with that pin, that should just seal the deal. And good punish from Abrahams, you know, waiting for a mistake to be made. The macro advantage is brutal.
Do you
and
think this is going to be a Venator
honestly, couldn't be a worse time here for Leviathan. They're going to be forced into this engagement.
I think it
games
could
like
be,
this are why Silver drinks, but once more together, diving in. Shocking reanimation gonna be brought out into the unstoppable. Back over and in for round two, but okay, a little bit too much pain and suffering for together. However, space was created. Sanya cleaning up some of the scraps, takes down Overseas. Iridamini being pulled out on the flank as Arzo looking for what remains.
Arzo's so clean with Iridamini this game. Feels like he just does not miss those stakes. And with just Verkum and Dimov trying to hold this one out. Dimov not even going to be able to get out to the base. That will be GG. Abraham's going to advance onto the money match, showing that the old dogs still have some fight left in them. Leviathan, the new roster showed a lot of promise, some impressive fights, but for Abrahams, I think they got exactly what they wanted out of the draft. I mean, the doorman was incredibly annoying. I feel like Taz had very few deaths this game. Saint did great on the saves, but the dual carry, stars of the show here for Abrahams.
I don't want to hear any
I mean, really, for Abrahams, they ran this exact comp yesterday, Jake, in scrims against Low KW. That's why when I saw the Mirage pick, I was just like, wait, are you going to go with the Calico again? Because they ran both together and won. I was watching that yesterday and just stunned. And look, it was good preparation for Abrahams. They bring it out here in the BO1, and they take the win as a result.
Yeah, great early game from the Calico, right? Like when you go for these greedier setups, you know, things can go wrong really fast if you start to fall behind and you don't have the space to farm and you need Mirage to come to fights that he's not really ready for. But that never happened this game. We didn't get to see that world because this early tower take that came in from Calico and Venator, very, very valuable. Like, even going down here to the 7, it was not a free fight by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, no, not at all. And yeah, all in all, I mean, I think it's interesting to see how much the meta has shifted in just 1 week, where you have the urn changes that came in. Well, by the way, the urn fight here was absurd. There was a lot of people in chat, Jake, watching this going, that's the first time I've actually seen the urn go 90 seconds. And it happened in a pro game. It was very much a testament to how even this game was at a point. Even with arguably Leviathan having better team fight options, Abrahams was able to play around it pretty well in most cases while still remaining in the circle.
Because once,
I mean, both teams I think had like one really big urn fight go their way. But what made the difference for me in this match was that Abrahams, both times the mid boss went down, all 3 regions claimed by Abrahams. Like for me, that often, I mean, as long as we've been playing competitive Deadlock, right? It's been crucial that you get those region secures. And
if you
Abrahams,
can avoid cards,
they've always been the best in the business at exactly that. I feel like this is a team that is so aware of how to play the mid boss. And I mean, talk about something that shows the veterancy.
If I use it
like,
more than
in all the chaos of a mid boss fight, it feels like there's no greater test of a team's ability to coordinate, make the right decisions at the right time, and brawl things out. Fantastic parries coming in here, and in the end, Abrahams walk away with the win, on to face Low-Key W in the money match, which won't be easy by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all. Also, if they bring this out against Low-Key W had experience against it yesterday, so presumably Low-Key W has made some countermeasures. I think part of why this comp worked, though, Jake, diving a little bit deep into it, was the fact that they were able to combo burst damage onto dives. I mean, again, you look at the game plan that got executed over and over and over again. What was it? It was Together goes in, sets the stage, goes in on Silver, and then Calico is there immediately on top of other damage being brought in. But the core of it was getting both Abrahams and Calico at the same time to basically isolate someone for death. And when that person is Silver, a hero that, remind you, that was the highest budgeted hero for Leviathan. It was picked at first pick. Where generally speaking, that's a hero you expect to do a lot for you in the course of the game, given you're putting that big of a draft priority on it. And Fremont was just erased most of the game. So, I mean, the strategy for Abrahams was clear and very well executed.
Yeah, it's a great point, right? We just didn't feel like Silver was in that first pick spot, you know, where we've seen many games where Silver like eviscerates these heavy M1 carries and they just can't quite play the game. I mean, that's why this character gets picked in that first slot so often. But it feels like Abrams have a really good counter strat to Silver. You know, that's honestly how this game felt. Would have maybe loved to see Leviathan maybe go back for a little bit more of a powerful save to kind of keep her up through that and get a little bit deeper.
She is one of the weaker characters.
Great stature, 0-4, but 25 assists on the Viscous, and I mean a massive investment in spirit damage.
Still
so
very strong.
The damage in this Viscous is pretty real, and he's having some key saves in the fights.
Taz,
but it's also Taz. I mean, this is the Doorman effect. One death on Doorman. 5-1, 27. Insane hero damage. We didn't talk about him all that much in these games, but he's just unreliable on the Doorman in these fights, like constantly putting down big damage with the Tank Buster. The ulti obviously is like having huge impact, isolating players out of the team fights, and especially in this game, there was a lot of characters who couldn't make their way out of the Baroness in time and end up taking that full burst of damage.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Doorman brings to any given fight. Doorman is giving you top and class damage, where oftentimes you see Doorman as the top damage in the game. Doorman is also giving you the banish, effectively, as Lightbringer would call it, where just having someone out of the fight for a long period of time has hidden benefits over it, especially when it's a priority target. And yeah, I mean, you just no one hates having Doorman on your team, which is why he's such a high priority pick at the moment. But yeah, here's our full stats screen. A little bit more in depth on the details and the item builds, and it was close for a long period of time, Jake. And at one point got evened up about 30 minutes into the game, and once Leviathan took the lead one more time, it was pretty much out of reach. Or rather, once Abraham took the lead one more time, it was out of reach for Leviathan.
Yeah, looking at these stats, I did feel like the 7 carry, it wasn't bad. Like there were some impact team fights from OCs. But I think we saw some of the limitations of this frontline setup. I think the McGinnis coming out of a losing lane feels really bad. I think like for this McGinnis to feel good, it feels like you really want to be taking tier 1s early, generating an early advantage, and your team can hopefully snowball on that. You get some space to farm up and to be this like big scary ult in a lot of the team fights, but didn't really feel that from Hapex in this one. I think coming off a rough start of McGinnis feels pretty uniquely bad compared to other heroes. Workham, though, I mean, great showing from him, I think, overall. Top player damage in the lobby, pretty low deaths, was able to put a lot of space creation down. But I think a lot of that comes from Mina's ability to escape from these initiations. A lot of these other teammates were not so lucky, right? Fremont had to take the brunt of this Together Abrams, Sonya Sniper, Calico, which, I mean, devastating stats across the board from those two.
Well, we got to crown our MVP, and we would be derelict in our duty
You'd
if we
probably end
didn't
up
give
doing
it
more
to Sanya,
damage if
playing
you
Calico
were
for the first
further
time in a
there,
long
but you
time
don't want to
here
be
in
further
Night
in
Shift,
there as,
and taking home the dub
McGinnis,
in a
really.
game where the Calico actually looked quite good, Jake, comboing with together over the course of the game. And also, you know, we did our damage check-in at the beginning of the game, and Sanya was actually pumping out damage within the first 15 minutes, was a big
Sanya's just a
reason as to
good
why
player.
some of these lanes felt very uncomfortable. And you talk about the bad McGinnis performance, the combination of taking down Fremont in these fights.
There wasn't
meant
really
that,
anything
the McGinnis was
Ozzy's
usually
could
one of the
do
people
here
getting
other
dived
than
after.
ult.
Like, Sanya didn't let Hapex have a lot of room post Fremont dying in these fights, and it was just a tough game from the pressure
No,
that
Taz
was able to be
played
put down
Doorman
here in no
really
small
well.
part to the combos that Calco was a part of.
It's great to
And
see
then
Sanya on these like more
Taz
aggressive
helped
fighting
Arzo and
characters. I
Sanya
mean, he's
get
such a
in there
strong
so
carry
much.
performer, but it's exciting to see that he can bring it on this wide range of heroes. I mean, definitely a player to watch in the future in Deadlock. I think, you know, historically in hero shooters, whenever I see a player that feels like they can pilot heroes in completely different categories to an insane level of play, you know, I think those are the players that end up lasting an incredibly long time and, you know, being some of the top players in the entire pro scene. So for Sanya, a
That's
great
like
early
an
game to set his
instant
team off on the
counter.
right foot, and some great finishing team fights to close that one out for Abrahams. And so
Low-key
for our money
W.
match, it is going to be Low-Key W, our title holder, taking on Abrahams as the challenger.
I kind of want
Yeah,
FPS
and
rounds
for Abrahams,
just
of course,
for the
it's
new
not
roster.
too big of a surprise coming in. I mean, they have been
FPS
the
rounds versus
number 2
melee
team in
creeps.
Europe in recent results. And
It
for
would be nice to see
Leviathan,
Bird with Clock
again,
up
I
there.
kind of called it in the middle of the draft, is that regardless of how you looked at the draft and how things went down, this is a team that literally just changed up 3 players. Even though some of the players are some of the more storied in the scene, like Dimov, you can't necessarily expect the team to come out with their peak performance in week 1. Deadlock is a little bit too complicated of a game for that. It takes some time to build team synergy.
Yeah, and I think the proof's in the pudding for this team, right? To have played Abraham so close, like, you know, one of those reju fights around mid goes differently, and Leviathan walks out of the pit with the spoils there. Honestly, like, you very much believe that they could and would have won, right? They were at a serious deficit. They had some big team fights to kind of bring the game back into contention, and there's not many squads that can kind of make recovery fights against a team like Abraham. So definitely, obviously, you know, expect more in the future out of this Leviathan team. But that's all for them in this week. They are eliminated, of course, there in the Challenger.
So the money match is set in stone. It's going to be Abrahams taking on Low-Key W once again. Will the changes of the week be in Abraham's favor, or will Low-Key W defend their position? Tune in after the break to find out.
Right, that's perfect time for me to go to the loo. I'm back. There we go. Horn. Oh my god. What are you playing? Oh. I swear.
Welcome back, everyone. The money match is upon us. I did not mute my microphone this time. ZP and Jake, and later DDK to bring you all the action here in our final here in the U. And Jake, again, from the last match, things are changing in the meta here in Deadlock.
Yeah, we already got a little bit of a test of that, but you know, some old classics also making a reappearance. You know, to see the double carry come out for Abrahams look very solid. The fact that they can win the first earn fight with that really surprised me. I mean, I think that's just impressive play from Abraham.
Yep. Also, I got to call chat for one moment here. People are saying, man, Freemock, stop dying all the time. And while, yeah, it's true, Freemock was the target there. Here's the thing. We haven't seen an Abrams Calico basically in forever. So I actually think this is a case where the aggression of that strategy and being that hard on the dive was not something that you could really be prepared for until you deal with it. And yeah, I think you put Freemock against the same situation. Things are probably a little bit more measured, but that was a strategy, Jake, that, you know, was some of the highest burst damage we've seen.
Yeah, it's one of those games where like maybe you go like almost pure green on silver, just try to survive that initial burst of damage, but you know, also not end up going for these like hard save supports. Like, you know, there was the opportunity, not that, you know, Paige or Kelvin are really being picked all that much these days, but right, it could have, you know, been a shifter in the dynamic here, of course, around those initial bursts. So the draft for Leviathan, I think basically just getting punished by Abrahams with the final pick Calico.
Well, we got to talk about what's going to be going down here in our EU final. And of course, to do that, we got to talk about the reigning champion. That's right, Low Key W, the team that's been winning it all as of late. Winners of the Night Shift Open, current kings of Europe. A lot of old Buff Enjoyers history on this team, Jake, both from the player side and, of course, their coach and Lightbringer, frequent friend of the show. And, you know, you look at this roster, they went through a little bit of tough times where they replaced Empty Dreams Zergy, but, you know, kind of going to the point I was talking about last map with Leviathan, where, you know, I wonder what their growing pains are going to be. Low-Key W, they just made a change of one player from Empty Dreams Zergy, and it took them a few weeks to finally get their rhythm back.
Yeah, and I mean, now that they have, right, the W's have been anything but low-key. I mean, they've been really dominant, right, crushing through the Night Shift Open, defeating essentially all the other top teams, even in North America, right? So it's a statement victory for low-key W, and now making a run of things in the Night Shift, wanting to maybe reenact that Buff Enjoyers era of dominance. Also a couple newer faces on this team like Vrake and Cosmetical, but these guys are quickly joining the pedigree with the rest of this squad and all of their experience.
Yeah, and you know, for Low-Key W, they've been the team to beat, and you know, they are mortal. It's not like they go on streaks where they win everything, you know, 10 in a row historically. Like even the Buff Enjoyers era, you know, they'd win 3-4 in a row, then, you know, lose a game. But that also is a testament to how competitive EU is. And, you know, on that note, we can flip back over to the Abrahams roster that we just saw, which of course is going to be the other team in this game. And, you know, you talk about hero flexibility, you know, it was a big story in the last game, but, you know, Sanya able to go from, you know, position 1, always playing M1 characters. You get Empty Dreams joining the team, and Sanya goes, yeah, you know, I'm just going to do a little bit of Lash, a little bit of Calico. I will fill whatever the team needs, and, you know, really gave an extra level of flexibility to this Abraham squad.
Yeah, the flexibility, you know, I think is going to prove to be key right now with the way the meta has changed. I mean, you got players like Saint, who've played the Abrams at times, played the classic supports, but also been able to take the fight to the opponents and be more of an aggressive frontliner. I think Arzo and Empty Dreams on the dual carry really impressed me. I think that's not an easy style to make work. Given your greed in the early game, but when you're able to win your lanes with those kind of heroes, like when the Venator comes out with an early tower take, it really just sets you off on the right path in a match of Deadlock. So Abrahams, they love to repeat that. They love to put some pressure on. Loki W have been a team that is just stalwart when they're on the defense too. So this is going to be one of those matches that is, you know, even with an early lead, I just don't think it can be decided quickly when teams of this caliber are matching up.
Yeah, and you know, for the teams, I think draft is going to be very soon. Actually, we have a player question going on in regards to 7. In fact, this is the full transparency here. I'm happy to read it on broadcast as we go through it here. It's basically saying, can we ban 7 ult damage through wall if you're point blank to it? I'm going to say in this case, probably not, just in the sense that if you ult near the, like that, you're going to say, oh, you just can't ult near a wall. 7, for me, I mean, it's a little bit, yeah.
It strikes me as unenforceable, right? Because like you're gonna end up ulting on the floor or the walls, like maybe naturally.
It is all fixed.
Or getting pushed there or something like that. So it's one of those bugs that's hard to ban. On top of that, if it were like on one of these like super premier picks, maybe I'd feel better about it. But 7 went 12th in the last game. Like it can be good, but I am sort of skeptical that it's going to be all that dominant in the meta.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually another good point, which is what we use for criteria, where, you know, there was a bug a while back where for Wraith, healing booster was giving her extra impact on her card heal, right? Where people ran the percentages, and it was like, oh, this is doing like 35% instead of 25%. Can we ban healing booster on Wraith? It's like, no, like people have known about this and they're still not picking the hero. Like that does not rise to the level of the ban. Like it's a combination of, it needs to be like bugged, and it needs to just make the hero so broken that you feel like it's first ban, first pick. If it's just like, guys, McGinnis is benefiting from this bug and now she might be picked 12th, it's like, okay, great, they go for it.
Yeah, I think you know, I'm curious to see how it plays out, right? If people are able to get more mileage. I mean, I think that's part of the challenge of Deadlock, right? Is like some bugs that are like so bad, so egregious, I feel like we do have to ban them, we do have to take steps against them. But other times when it's like more moderate or on heroes that aren't necessarily the strongest, it's like, yeah, maybe this is just it's a bit of it's early, you know, it's the nature playing it that way. This is an alpha, right? After all, that things are going to be a little bit buggy. Not every patch is going to be perfect. So yeah, I think we might just have to live with that one. Teams are maybe gonna have to figure out if they want to pick 7 a little bit earlier in the draft to consider it maybe a more valuable tool if you can ult through the walls.
Yeah, I mean, and 7's draft position at this point in the game was around, what was it? It was either like latter part of the first half of the draft or, you know, at the beginning of the second half of the draft, and sometimes eating a ban in scrims on second bans. But, you know, for now, we're not going to go our way the, you know, ban 7 from ulting near a wall. We'll see what happens as a result if it increases the pick priority. But, you know, the reason why we're talking about it here and giving you some insight into the back of things is that the players were not drafting while this was getting figured out. So, you know what? If that's what's stalling us, we might as well talk about it because, Jake, that helps us fill downtime while waiting.
We love filling
every
downtime.
time I play Doorman,
that's our
and one of
specialty.
them
They pay
come
us the big
after me,
bucks.
I literally just lock
not really,
them up
but you know, hey, it's part of the job as a caster. I am curious to see what of the sort of new picks, or not new picks necessarily, but like the different picks that Leviathan was going for will be adopted by either of these teams in this series, right? Whether it's the McGinnis. I think like the McGinnis didn't look great last game, but I think if you put her in a stronger lane where you're actually winning the lane, taking towers, maybe starting to roam around the map, take more T1s and progress the game from there, I think this McGinnis hero could look stronger. But maybe the teams will take that one tough L and say maybe they don't want to go with that kind of an experimental option. To your point too, I'm curious if Viscous starts going pretty early, maybe consistently before that second ban phase.
Counterspell
and some of the drafts Viscous was just because of the ability to protect, and I think just, you know, in general his abilities are pretty good at area control the way these fights are currently being fought. Also, you know, it's funny, Chad was memeing about like, can we ban Rem? He's taking the sinners. You know, Rem was nearly banned today globally before the start of the show, and the reason was that there was a bug that, by all accounts, is fixed. We told players not to use this bug if for whatever reason it wasn't, but basically there was a bug with Rem in where you could use tag along on a hero and then use tag along on a creep that was in the process of dying. If the creep died before the tag along hit the creep, it would full reset the tag along to where you could use it again on the hero and like keep chaining heals like at a way higher rate than normal.
Here we go.
Apparently it broke laning phase pretty badly, so without that bug being fixed, Rem would not be present today at all. But Jake, the filling is getting a little bit less here. The draft has begun, and GT gonna be first to be banned.
You know what they say, ZP, they do lots of things, sometimes bugs, but I'm always, I think Rem is becoming one of those new community favorite characters where people want to see Rem play. They want to see what's possible on, the cute little guy himself. I like the Doorman ban from Loki W. They've been a team that has, I think, been pretty relentless with this, and I agree with it. I think the Doorman, it just fits in any strategy. It's incredibly powerful, does great damage for not a crazy investment of economy and farm, and is an amazing laner on top of that. Abrams, though, they're going to be able to sneak the pocket through with these bans, and I mean, I will say these are two really good, not necessarily answers to Pocket, but I think two good tools to have in your kit when you're matching up against Pocket, like all the spirit nuking from GT and Doorman off the board.
Yeah, and I mean, Loki W, they've been a team where they don't fear giving up the Pocket. Like more than any other team, top team in either region, they're the one team that's like, nope, play the Pocket, we'll play around it, we'll buy divine barriers, and we'll win team fights another way. But to no one's surprise, Jake, first pick available when Pocket is off the board is going to be Silver. I think it's probably been the most consistent thing that people grab in this sort of situation. What surprises me a little bit is that they go with the Victor. I would have actually expected maybe the Abrams in this situation.
Yeah, could be an option. I think I liked stealing the Abrams away from Abrahams. Like, they have been one of the best teams. It's a Paradox first. I wouldn't be surprised if Abrams is not the next grab for Abrahams, which is not something I love to say, but they do keep picking it, so I don't have much choice in the matter.
It's gonna get worse. Next time Work in Progress plays, remember, they have a player named Mo that also, like, apparently is also a Mo and Krill player. So it's gonna be great when Mo is on Mo, because then you can just say Mo and it's a, double covering both ends. But when Mo is playing against Mo, it is going to be hell, and we're going to have to deal with it someday, Jake. Abrams, though, is going to get picked up from Abrahams, and what I wonder here, Jake, I don't think you steal the Calico as a pick, because I don't know if it works without the Abrams backing it up, but I do kind of feel like if you were watching the last series, like your Lightbringer doing your calculations, maybe you ban Calico in the mid-stage bans here, then not deal with the burst combo that Abrahams did back in the best of one.
Yeah, they also might be thinking about something like the Venator that I think showed real promise last game, not only winning its lane, but then like being a key fighter. I think Venator also is one of the better of the M1 carries to deal with these like run you down frontliners like Silver and Victor. Like, Venator's probably one of the strongest at like kiting back, defending himself, and turning those things around into kills. Like a lot of times, Abrams and Calico were starting those pickoffs and pressuring Freebuck, but then Arza would swing in with the wall stun, and it felt like that was oftentimes like the finishing blow in some of those moments. So Loki W, see where they go next. They do still have one more pick before that mid-stage ban. I'd actually kind of like to see the Viscous here. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. I think this actually means maybe you don't need to worry as much about something like the Calico, because this all-in burst one guy strat is not going to feel good against Viscous.
Yeah, I mean, you have the cube. I think on the other hand, though, there's just a possibility of, do you really want to deal with it? Like, Viscous is not going to be in every single fight. Also, like, you're going to be able to defend it in some of the bigger fights, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a big fan of taking away weapons that the other team has been able to use. I think Abrahams, when they ran Abrams Calico against Loki W and Scrims, they also won that game too, backed up with a Mirage. So the entire using Mirage plus Ven plus Calico Abrams was something that Abrahams used to really good effect. So I expect Loki W to be banning at least something from that pool to disrupt what has otherwise been, a very effective Abrahams composition.
Who else did they have last time?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd love to see the Venator banned out here, especially because you have Pocket pick. So you suspect for Abrahams it'll be Empty Dreams on the Pocket, which I think Pocket can occupy an interesting place in a draft where I feel like you often need to give Pocket some side laner priority, and so I think it's a lot less likely that Abrahams go for the sort of double M1 carry draft that they had last game. So maybe taking away whatever you think is like the more threatening possibility in that lineup could be the look. And they do like to ban out the Mirage, feeling like maybe that's the bigger threat than a Venator. That being said, I think Loki W have next pick too, so maybe they'll grab both, which I would quite like here.
Yeah, I mean, because even though Loki W has had a preference for Warden in official matches recently, other teams don't necessarily love playing Warden as much as Zergy does. So you can make the real argument here of even if Zergy prefers Warden, Zergy still could play a really good Venator, and Abraham's having to play the Warden as opposed to playing the Venator is more of a hit to them and thus more of a draft win for Loki W if they go in that direction. Rem's gonna get banned out by Abraham's in turn, I
kind of hate it, honestly. The Rem ban, like, I mean, Rem and Viscous, it's not that bad to have two really powerful saves, but I do feel like it would make your draft a little weird to pick the Rem here. I guess, you know, that it is a pocket, so like the Spirit Resist is going to be super valuable. And Loki W goes Sinclair here. So I mean, okay, just like stealing the pocket ulti, right, has consistently been a massive impact play for Sinclair, and could be a problem for somebody like Abrams playing the front line. This also gives you an insane mid-boss contest, like not only a Victor, but you have the Rabbit Hex on top, which is actually, I think, a nice
This is
combo.
going to be
like
one of my longest
Victor
streams
and Silver take all the
like
aggro,
4
and
in
then
the
Sinclair
morning.
can kind of comfortably cast those spells with a little bit more work.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Even in scrims, I think the Sinclair had mixed results. Again, Sinclair, he's had a better win rate over the last 2 weeks than he did before, but in a lot of these games, he is very much potential, man. Of the theory always checks out, but the execution at times is like so variable and how it pans out. But being able to clone Affliction is one of the strongest clones in the entire game, so you don't necessarily feel bad. What I'm curious about for Abraham's, though, is how they finish this out. I mean, they could still very well, Jake, go Ven Calco and feel decent about it in this situation, especially with Barrage off the board.
I didn't even realize they went
now I'm just curious if Calco comes out. I mean, I think actually you don't need to pick Calco until last pick for Abraham's, because I don't think there's any world where Loki W grabs it with their style of draft here. So even if they're going to go Calco, I think they grab their other higher priority pick first, unless they're just saving it for, you know, the adaptation pick last.
That's a pocket Paradox Abrams.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Abrahams are actually in a great spot. Like, they're kind of getting everything they want here. I think Loki W clearly has a very different vision of the game, though, right now. Like, I think maybe both teams are actually going to get most of what they want, most of you know, the way they want to approach the game. Venator, though, looks scary to me. I mean, I think Arzo looks fantastic on the hero. It looks super comfortable for Abrams, and is a real issue in terms of the poke damage he can put out, assisting players like Paradox and Abrams starting fights, able to get down and dirty when Abrams, you know, or if there's a Calico there as well, right? When they get those catches coming in, I think Venator absolutely loves stepping up and hitting some of those follow-up shots, finishing off some of those kills, maybe with the Iridomini if it's needed. So for Loki W, we'll have to see if it's justified here to go for the Sinclair after that ban phase. And Abrams just grabbed the Sinclair, the Calico now, and like, while I agree, Loki W aren't likely to steal it away, I kind of like this from Abrams because like, you just feel so good locking this in, right? It's like your last pick can just be responsive to what comes out next from Loki W.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tension here, right? Is that it's not a pick that was going to go off the board, but this now gives you the ability to adapt with final pick. Also, there is another angle on the Sinclair. Like, you look at the Sinclair here and be like, okay, you're going to clone Affliction, which you still have the option to. But the other option here too, Jake, is
I see that
we have seen in recent times Sinclair going more of an orange build, and then your clone on Ven ult is actually really impactful. Like, that is a thing we have seen, and it opens up some options for Sinclair. So don't be surprised if that comes into play either. But we get the Mina picked up from Loki W, which of course is pretty much directly for Cosmetical's hero pool and what Cosmetical is comfortable on. And hey, it did work in the Night Shift Open too.
Yeah, I'm wondering now, is there any chance of this being a Zergy Victor and playing a little bit more of like the carry Victor style? Nope, it is not. Viper comes out. And Viper carry, something we didn't talk about at all in the last match. Again, was completely uncontested. This has been another one of those picks that Loki W is playing. Not many other teams are. Very curious to see how Viper pans out here. I think historically Viper has struggled into some of these like very aggressive stun lock you to death kind of drafts. If you're able to catch the Viper first here, you have a Viscous save, which is nice, but Abraham's, I mean, they're certainly going to have a target on Zergy's back this game.
Yeah, also, as I look at this though, Jake, do you enjoy going against mid boss against the low-key W comp? Like that just seems like the most hellacious thing to fight mid boss against, between Bola, between Sinclair existing, between Silver's ability to just pump out damage and mid boss fights in general, Victor dying on mid boss, and Viscous. I mean, Viscous also like floods the zone with spam. I mean, good lord, the mid boss fight for low-key W is heinous. I mean, it's practically a war crime. And for Abrahams though, getting Shiv last pick, always pretty high value. I think, you know, Shiv's relative value in the draft, you know, he's gone a little bit lower, but on the same note, Shiv's impact has still been really, really high.
Yeah, I think Shiv is just full reliable, right? Like, you know, he's going to deal big damage. Even if he doesn't have the best game, he has that execute threat, and is going to be like a pretty tanky option to bring down. However, I do like Viper decently well into that matchup. I think of all the hard carries, it's like Viper is pretty difficult to maybe consistently hit with those knives while she's sliding around. And then, of course, that lethal venom often, like, after you escape on Shiv, the bloodletting ticks down, the lethal venom hits at the sort of the worst moment for you. So, you know, this is a very low-key W draft. Abrahams, though, get just about everything I think they would have wished for in this one. Maybe a doorman would have been preferred, but I don't think they're going to be upset at all about how this draft shook out. So after a patch, right, every team maybe getting a little bit more freedom to play what they think is best and see that clash.
Also, gotta give a shout out to one of our more consistent supporters here on the Night Shift, Chrysana 14 with the 10 gifted. Thank you so much. Much appreciated as always. You know, a wonderful presence on the stream, week in and week out, Jake.
Yeah, huge love to the community. Seen a lot of gifted and regular subs come in. Remember, feed us your Prime subs. Click the button if you still have that Twitch Prime. Little reminder for the people out there, maybe snoozing on their Primes. Give it to us. We will put on Deadlock Esports events with it.
Pretty sure.
Thoughts?
Yeah.
I've enabled.
Works for me. But now we're just waiting for the players again game, and also the return of Dan is imminent here. So you know, technically the plan for me today was hosting all day long, but had to fill in you know, a little bit on cast just because of a prearranged thing. But he's soon to be back here, Jake, and we'll be back on our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, we'll see if Dan can join us. I'm sure he'll get me back sometime into this match. Teams, of course, getting ready into this one. And I guess as you look at these two drafts, CP, I mean, they're both so different, I think, in style and presence and like the way they want to play the game. But just gut feeling, who do you like more right now, having seen, you know, our first game here on the new meta in that challenger match?
I think overall I like low-key W, and part of it is that I don't think the Abrams Calco dive is going to be anywhere near as effective against low-key W because they have so many tools to break away. Whether it just be Nina
until I say
period,
I can get the money.
You have Petrifying Bola, you have Rabbit Hex, you have Viscous Cube.
And also,
even if you do go on the silver early on, you can have Viscous drop a cube. You can have Sinclair drop a hex. If Zergi's there, Zergi can slow the entire thing down. So I don't think you have the combo power in this game that you had in the last game because there's just too many answers for it. And then not even the greatest amount of targets because even if you don't have abilities being used to interrupt it, generally speaking, if you go on Victor, well, Victor's just going to get back up. Viscous can self-cube. Sinclair is usually going to be able to get away. Same with Mina. So in general, the only person they could go after is Silver, and Silver has to be not near any of the people that could save her for it to be effective. So I actually think the Abrams Calco burst combo, while very effective on paper, runs into all sorts of roadblocks the way low-key W has structured their team.
Yeah, I think definitely expecting that to be a lot harder this game than it was last. But I do think Pocket and Shiv, with the spirit damage they can bring to bear, are going to be really crucial for Abrahams this game. Like, if the Pocket has an amazing game, you're snowballing into some of these like crazy late game items. I think the Max Affliction can be a big problem. I think obviously that dance between Sinclair and Pocket of trying to steal and have a high impact is going to be crucial as well, because hey, if that Shiv gets a runaway game, I mean, there's nothing better than a Pocket Affliction to mitigate some of that impact. So shout out to the chat, seeing a lot of those primes coming in to folks, you know, maybe recognizing they have one in the bank. So we appreciate you guys passing those our way. We plow all this money right back into the show, able to do, you know, more Deadlock Esport events, more community opportunities. So definitely appreciate that from the fans here.
Yeah, and also, sorry, I was going to say here, we got to give some love here to those who have been watching us week in and week out. Production just noted, Sweet Cowman just hit a 50 stream watch streak, which is absolutely wild. So that isn't just every night shift, because we're not night shift 50 yet. That's every watch party that's gone down too, which of course we do when there's other big events in the night shift community. So absolutely unreal stuff from Sweet Cowman. Very much appreciate the support. But we are going to be in lobby soon. We're just sitting here filling, but the players should be good to go in just a moment, and we'll be on our way.
That's a great point, though. A 50 stream watch streak is insane, and you know, as much as we really appreciate all the subs, our YouTube members over in the YouTube chat, our Patreons as well. Hey, even the folks just showing up day after day, watching, being part of the show, letting your friends know about it. It's also a massive help to us in growing what we're trying to put on here with the Deadlock Esports events. Definitely excited, with the earn this new change. I feel like the earn objective feels more fleshed out than maybe it ever has before, where we still have that little dance before the earn comes down of will they, won't they, are they going to even attempt to dunk it, are they just baiting to pull attention elsewhere? But then when the actual fight begins, really in the past, that was like the end of the earn fight. It was like, oh, somebody got it to the dunk, it's over now, the earn objective is out and they're just fighting. Now that's sort of just the beginning, right? Just the tip of the iceberg in terms of how those fights go down. And I do expect teams to really adapt to that. I think Loki W, a lot of circles here, not an insane amount of circles though. So for some of our circles enjoyers complaining about who's getting more circles in ranked, I don't know that either of these teams has gone all in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, Loki W, the funny part about their draft is what makes it absolutely ridiculous for mid-boss also would have made their comp the most absurd in the last iteration of the earn, where you had the melee. Like, if you had to go in the melee against everything Loki W could throw on point, it would be ridiculous. But now that you have a little bit more space, you can play around it as Abraham's a lot more effectively. And also the funny part about last game too is that, it was very tentative for Abraham's and actually going in for the first earn attempt. Like, it took a while for the 12-minute earn to actually hop into the objective. In fact, we missed out on the 18-minute earn. It was the 12-minute earn being held through 18 minutes and finally being dunked. So, actually forcing the earn as soon as possible, not necessarily as much of a thing as it used to be. I mean, I think last game was a little bit of a rare occurrence, but it is still more likely to happen, I think, in this patch than previous. The way
if
teams
you
are
wanted to sub
earn.
to me now on
Twitch,
Twitch,
some of these tools,
listen, if you wanted to sub to me now,
like, they're still nice when the enemy is grouped
tip
up
me
around
the
you
amount
in
the
fight,
sub
like,
is instead of actually subbing.
A pretty juicy AoE there, but compared to
Just
the old
saying.
earn, where like the
That way
Victor
I
ulti
get
on
the
the
money.
old earn as it was dunking is like,
Then don't
what
sub.
do? You just die to it, right?
Then
Because you
don't sub.
have to come in at melee range. You can play around the Victor ulti, even with a huge amount of like AoE investment. There's going to be positions, there's going to be cover
It's worth
for players to stay
$4.99.
alive and kind of extend that fight a little bit deeper. So I think teams have to actually think a little bit more completely about
it's not
how
right
they
now.
want to approach the earn fight, rather than just, hey, Blitzkrieg, everybody run it down, pop all your circles on the dunk itself. You need to win the fight. You need to actually box the enemy out, take that trade, which is interesting to see on that kind of area of the map, where typically we spend a ton of time there, but we spend it in the laning phase when it's just a 2-on-2 and everyone's poor. We're all just like starting to level up our skills. So it's interesting to see major team fights take place on that geometry.
Also, we got a full-on hype train going on in chat. So the one upside of the fill here, while we're waiting for the players to get ready, I swear it's not us. We had
More time for you to sub.
That's right. Well, Korsaka came with the 10 gifted, which of course is very much appreciated. But that screen being up, Jake means production has the players in lobby. We are about to go full live. We'll see exactly where it's at as wait, we also got a $100 100 NOK donation saying former Team Fortress 2 God Cosmetical Easy W.
Okay, I didn't know Cosmetical was a TF2 player. That's cool. That's cool. Always fun when you meet people who play competitive TF2.
What was that?
At least for me, having that been my first competitive game, it's one of the OGs, and I feel like you feel some of the spirit of the movement of that game, at least in Deadlock.
I subbed to 2 people. One
Okay,
paid,
that is
one,
$10 US is what we had there to the prize pool, where we will get the prize pool ticker up. I just realized it is missing, but yeah, all in
I
all,
have 53.
we'll see how this one pans out. Very different approaches to the
And they're
draft. from
mostly
both
Dead by
teams here,
Daylight
Jake.
people.
And I think it's going to be a good contrast test, as the teams, by the way, are not accurate. It's flipped on top. There we go. Look, the magic occurs. Now we got Loki W on the right side. The right side being the correct side. It's actually the left side.
Mine are mostly Dead by Daylight
Watch your
people.
words, ZP, as getting into the laning phase here. Really curious to see How the
And it's
Venator
mostly
does in
'cause
this
then I
game.
get to
last
use their
game, the lane
emotes
went
and,
about as explosively as
what's
possible. This
ad-free.
one, I like the odds quite
The
a bit better
purpose
for
of
the
this
lane LokiW are bringing to bear here. Viper plus Mina feels like an insane amount of damage to put in once they get a few
So
levels.
instead of
and some of these key
paying
skills,
$4.99 a month,
I think
you
this
want
is
me
going to
to
be a
pay
test for Arzo.
£15
How can he
a month.
weather the storm? Because
Great
Mina starts proccing those love bites. You know, you get some lethal venoms coming in from Viper.
Okay, even
that
better.
HP bar can become a liability.
I am going to
And that does
continue
it for
what I'm
me
doing because it
until
is
we
cheaper.
get back into the post game because I'm hosting today. We got Dan back on the cast.
Man, CP, what
Anyway,
a guy. What a guy coming
games.
from me, Jake. We're so lucky here at DLNS to have such wonderful people, Jake.
Yeah,
What-
true
what's your
OGs.
What's your favorite thing about ZP?
What's my favorite thing about ZP? I'm gonna say I think ZP has a heart of gold. I think that's something that maybe folks just watch the show. You know, he's a good caster. We like ZP, yeah, but they don't know ZP as a person, as a deeply kind and generous human being. So that's my favorite thing about ZP.
Wow. Okay, moving back into the game. So,
I love a little positive.
I was so
affirmation, man.
confused
Yeah,
for
I
a
got
second. I
awkward.
was
I
like,
said
what?
the
Love,
Jake,
you know,
so-
where's the
Hang
love go?
on.
Okay, well, so
That
how do
is
you
a
read
jump
this,
scare.
overall in terms of, because I miss your thoughts. You know, how do you read this overall in terms of the, which team came out better on the draft here, and what are we looking for in the early laning phase?
I think Empty Dreams getting the pocket is always going to feel pretty good. I think for Abraham's, this is very much a classic draft for them with a lot of these features that we've seen be successful. I mean, Abrams and Calico can find a lot of these explosive burst kills. You
I
got
just
Together
banned Night
Shiv,
Dot.
which is one of the forbidden player hero combos of Night Shift, right? It's been a while since we've seen him play it, but he has historically been one of the very best on the hero. So I think Abraham's getting a lot of what they want here. LokiW are a team that's sort of going their own way, though, with the Sinclair, with the Viper. These are not picks that many other teams even consider. So a lot, I think, is on the line from an experimentation perspective in this match.
Who better to do it? I got to
It's
say,
almost
I
11
feel
o'clock,
like
Packham. You can do
they're somewhat
it.
responsible for bringing Warden
Right,
Viscus and
Yesterday
and,
was crazy. I ended up staying on
somebody
till
else, I
1
forget
talking
which
to
other
other
hero.
people.
Did I say Warden? Yeah, I said Warden. There's another one. But they're a team that set the meta, so I trust them. I trust them with my life, especially as Zergy has been so incredible. There
Me
was
and
that period
Packham
when he
were
first
like
joins, LokiW, and
wanting
it's
it to be like half 11
is
at
he
least.
still,
so
is
we
he still
can go
good?
to
Is he still
bed.
good to play at this
We were
level?
so tired. By the
And
time
give him a
that
couple
happened, I
weeks,
wasn't tired
he's
anymore.
learned how to play just around the team, around the meta, and
Yeah.
he's just been looking incredibly good.
I forced
Again,
myself
which
to
is
go
so
to
fun
bed
see.
because
If
of
you're
my
a fan
meeting
of
today.
Deadlock, or
And
if
then my
you're a
cat
new
ruined it.
fan, like Zergy's he's just a great guy. He's got one of the best streams as well in EU as well. So it's
They pissed
on
on
the
my
Viper here.
only pair of trousers.
gonna be interesting to see the impact. The gun
So I
build's
couldn't
been
go to my
pretty
meeting.
popular. Jake, the damage output's been pretty crazy.
I ain't turning. I ain't going
definitely
on a bus
expect to see
into
that hard
town.
gun
Going
carry.
to a very
Also
important
curious to
meeting
see
wearing
how
a
Obigen
skeleton
takes the build here. I mean, we've seen people do some early investments in gun damage on the Sinclair to be like a more threatening laner.
I am not doing
Personally,
that.
my favorite is just the maxed out Rabbit Hex with Echo Shard.
No.
Build. I think that is just so powerful in the team fights. A really extended disable can hit on multiple players and just completely add massive levels of chaos into the team fight, and then throw some stolen pocket ults in on top of that. Bob's your uncle. Speaking of pocket, by the way, has gone a very defensive build here, and he clearly needs it. I mean, the pressure in this lane is immense, and that's an early base trip
Okay.
for a pocket.
Yeah, the spirit poke is pretty crazy. So that does make a lot of sense. But it kind of sucks.
Mina
It sucks to
Viscus
be in
is
that
brutal.
position. To be in the because it's kind of like you acknowledging that you're kind of losing the lane, having to invest defensively.
They're
on an aggressive
already
hero.
kind of letting Arzo
yeah,
farm
it's a great
ahead,
call-out.
which is kind of
We
scary.
do have the fight over the bridge buffs. Abraham's last game.
That is
they
only
managed to
100
get pretty
souls
much all the
ahead,
bridge buffs,
but
so
that
we'll see
still
if they can
amounts to-
continue.
It's like 1 for 1, but LokiW, the winner of the RNG there, I'd say. Vitality buff. It is
I
on
swear you only
Mina,
play
which
like
is
2
a
classes.
little awkward. I mean, Mina has great sustain in the lane anyway,
Yeah.
but after some of the changes, I think you're not mad at having a little extra in that department. Definitely Cosmetical, I think, coming out of this laning phase doing pretty nicely. Curious to see if he can take this Vitality buff, find some kills, and maybe start a snowball rolling. I mean, Mina loves nothing more than, I think, to kind of take over the game with some early aggression.
Yeah, talking about a hard game for Empty Dreams because Cosmetical just picked up Spirit Sap as well, and Pocket Spirit Resist's already kind of sus, to be honest. So the
Cosmetical and Spirit
Vitality
Sap.
buff, you can't kill her. Cosmetical is definitely running this lane right now. All the dodge of the splatter. I gotta say, the spatter is really annoying early lane. It just constantly chips away. It does so much damage.
What are you talking about? It's so we love the Viscous.
Oh yeah, it's really weak. It sucks. It needs to be buffed.
Yeah, so we should buff it and increase the damage and the bounces and everything. I will say when they made the first level of the skill still have a bounce, I think it's so much more fun to play Viscous now. That was such a fun change actually. Hitting people with a little double bounce on level 1. I mean, it's not that good with the damage reduction. By the way, Affliction, gets absolutely juked from just one stamina bar used by Cosmetical. So Empty Dreams gonna be feeling pretty rough about that one. Maybe some kills to be coming. I mean, no Affliction's a big deal.
Yeah, this lane has been an absolute struggle for Abrahams, that's for sure.
And he's got
it really has been. I mean, we'll have to see how Empty Dreams handles it because he's obviously a great player, and we'll see if he can still.
I don't think it'll matter too much.
But a slow start on Pocket, it really sucks because Pocket can
you
really
I agree
snowball things really quick off of a good start. So what to do for Empty Dreams, and this Guardian's looking like he might go down pretty shortly.
Back off of Guardian.
I will say the trades have been bad for Empty Dreams, but his economy is shockingly good here on the Pocket. I mean, 5.3k, so I guess he's getting a lot of boxes out of the exchange and still getting a ton of the souls out of the lane. And Saint, for me, Saint has actually been one of my favorite Abrams players to watch recently. You know, in contrast to some of the typical frontliner players who play the Abrams, I feel like he gets so much done with relatively minimal soul investment, right? Like, even with a lower economy, it's going to be put to the test, though, because Decay online for Viscous, they mean business when it comes to pushing down
the builds are coming together.
Yeah, the pressure feels like unrelenting, but all it takes is one good engagement. Knocks on
they're letting Zergy
looking very well positioned.
Good amount of
will take down Saints. And that pressure is continuing. It is just building and building on the right side of the map here. This Guardian is...
Maybe this is what they're going for. They want them to worry about Zergy first, and then the others.
To Cosmetical on this Mina, and that's going to be a scary thing to deal with.
Because that can be so distracting.
Yeah, because he's trying to do what he can on Empty Dreams to like defend just one more wave on this tower, which he actually will be able to do successfully, which is a big deal because that means Saint's going to be able to come back in. It's going to take another big push to get this one over the line, and it's a little uncomfortable for Mina at 600 HP. Like, in theory, you should be able to take that tower,
I should have
mine. You get caught in a stun, you could be dead.
Abrams, out of there. Is it going to be enough to try to escape to safety? Yes. Get some coverage.
My mum's
well.
probably got it too, which is huge.
Slow things down a little
for that
bit.
in savings for a new oven.
Hoot on this silver. I don't know if you guys talked much about the Hoot silver, but Hoot certainly
yeah, you won't get that for a while.
I think that's a good point. I think Hoot probably the best silver right now. If I had to pick one, just makes so much happen on this hero. I think Arzo is going to be put to the
I'm so lost as to what's happening in this game.
Ult is pumped out of Listic, but the damage is pretty massive. The bullet just barely goes wide, but Calico is in a rough spot.
Too much, or
some cheeky movement to play out of this one. And, kind of an awkward wall bounce, but maybe the shop is just too far of a chase for Loki W to believe is worth it. They are going to get a Sinner out of this, which is actually a pretty significant prize. Soul's being denied, but that was enemy Sinner, so getting anything out of that feels good for Listic.
You're down to that much money.
Very
no.
Nice well, now some of the Guardians are going down. We're exiting the silly lane.
You're not, Billy.
Boots, the boot kick there, trying to lock these players down.
Even I am.
He's in a very good spot.
Look at this wall.
That was actually so sick.
Taz is so expert on this character. I don't know that I've even seen that before, but it still just delays the inevitable. Enough, though, for the tower to go down. So, you know, in the end, give up a kill. You do not feel bad about that.
Did they go all on trains?
By Taz.
I see it.
I mean, I like the positioning there from Sanya Sniper on the Calico. Very, very deep. Again, Calico is such an effective assassin. I've missed Calico's presence in the pro level. Good to see her back.
Yeah, how much is not much.
We need to back off. Like Curso comes in, and that's really turns the tables on this situation.
I mean,
sending it deep into the Guardian net. Has some teammates with support as well. Not overextending. They get the Guardian, so they get the value
you can, but
and Sanya Sniper in a little bit of trouble.
Oh, lethal venom. Taz done for there. Yeah, he's gonna tick out from it, and Zergy getting active very early on this Viper, leaving Mina and Victor to farm the side lanes. And getting some kills off the back of that is really nice because
I'm just looking now.
Kind of
all I need to get monetized on Twitch and apply for affiliates is 3 average viewers. And for some reason, Twitch isn't counting many viewers right now.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, maybe it's worth a lot of people watching MT Dreams' demo of the early laning phase in this game, because his lane was getting absolutely wrecked, but he's managed to stay on track.
Dispel magic for Saint,
and you know, he had to invest in, as you say, you know, more on the front end of those more survival items. But MT Dreams, he's got 11k. He is tied for most souls on the server with Cosmetical, who was dominating his lane.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is one of the best pockets. I think one of the most experienced. So yeah, you might put a crazy spirit nuking lane up against him, but he's already kind of hit that point where, hey,
another reason why I like playing Paradox and
you know, getting some levels in the cape and the suitcase
is you can get your build without worrying about
it doesn't counter items come down. Speaking of that though, who does grab a slowing hex?
Because they don't require
that players like Saint, especially together, that maybe rely on the movement skills, could find themselves more vulnerable than they might expect.
Well, especially when my farming ability is poor.
Yeah, slowing hex is such a high value item, I feel like, for a hero like Silver, especially when you put the Lycan curse, they just simply will not be able to get away. Good presence in mid here from LQW at the moment. Urn is coming up, so looking for some priority for that pickup, perhaps.
I just
taking control of the mid lane. There's the affliction.
And he can't even get the counter afflict off in time. Empty Dreams. Cotton bursted. Very nice find here from Obukim.
Yeah, it's cool to see the Sinclair play picking up again. I felt like, Jake, we've got actually like a lot of very good heroes at the moment. Whereas I thought the meta was not like that in previous times, but you know, I'll maybe come back to that point here. We do have the
I thought he was actually going to get away with stealing that.
Switching hands, being dropped on the ground there, but who coming on forward with the Silver, and it's just so hard to do. This is one of the reasons why Silver's that first pick. So oppressive when Lycan Curse is activated. You have to try to back away. The swap there, but it's just not going to deter him. He's got the melee there, able to slice away.
I hate
trying to get out of this position, but maybe
I'm
been
terrified
off a bit
of
more than who can shoot will eventually be taken out. But in the meantime, Jake, Urn is in the hands of OQW.
Good bait from Taz. And for
because
Hoot, I think
it can go so wrong
to not fall for that one, because now the Urn
they can
feels
throw,
a little more tenuous.
or it can be like the best
opportunity here for Venator to farm up on the opposite side lane, but a lot of players coming to that dunk location. I think both teams know that this is not going to get off without a fight.
Yeah, we had a lot of interesting situations in the first match. It was very hard to kind of start the King of the Hill battle. That's like good positionally for Loki W at the moment, but Abrahams are looking to show some threat and presence.
Abrahams
again with the split pushing. That's really where the problem is. Also looking to get a solo Walker. Nobody's there just yet, and there could be some assistance. Sanya Sniper is close as well to that left side Walker. Whilst this Urn is being toyed with, that Walker's in threat, and finally the defense will arrive. It will only lose about 40% health, that Walker, so not too bad.
Yeah, a lot of macro pressure being put on by Abrahams, but Loki W grab a trade off of it. So it's a good recovery. To your point, though, some nice Walker damage on the side Walker. It's not nothing, but you do not want to be giving up kills for moments like that, especially with Zergy able to collect and get like a nice little side wave of farm there as the Urn runs back to its starting position. And a big catch on a Pocket. The slowing axes just layered on top of each other, and Pocket, no Dispel Magic just yet. Empty Dreams. Couple big pickoffs going against him, and Mina looking for more now. Saint just running out of gas. Doesn't have many escape tools in this. Has his own Dispel Magic, but I don't know that that's going to be enough. I mean, one more Love Bite proc,
still
not
really
even
strong,
needed. Cosmetical finishes off Saint.
Not the strongest.
That's going to clear the space to get that Urn dropped off. And again, the macro pressure comes in. You got Abrahams looking to get some pressure on the mid Walker. And they've also got Arzo pressuring the left side Walker, so you can't do everything at once. And we'll see what the decision is for Loki W. How do they handle this split push effort? If you deal with that mid push, whilst the Urn is being deposited, and there's no one to stop this from Abraham's side, because they're invested in that left Walker. That left Walker, Jake, it's got to go down for this to be a trade that makes sense.
Okay, they do kill Zergy. If they can grab the Walker as well, it's going to feel pretty good. Is that Urn still in contest? Wow, I can't believe it. Abrahams, if they can hold on to this Urn, that would be absolutely insane. Saint doing everything he can to stay alive, just trying to kite, run away, make as much time as he can. Has a very tanky build on this Abrams.
Oh my God.
Finds Taz, equalizes the numbers. He's just fully running for the hills here. This is, I think, why Abrams is getting picked so highly here, but even he eventually will succumb. It is a huge affliction, though, from Empty Dreams, and there may be still a fight to be played here. Affliction onto 4. Abraham's still brawling, still trying to trade this one out. See what Sonya can get done. Players ticking down. Like, Spawner's going to come back into this one. We could even see the Urn go up in smoke.
Yeah, very possibly. That would be an amazing victory for Abrahams if they can manage to do that after picking up the Walker. Still trying to make things happen here. Oh, the parry comes in. It's not going to be not that much, though, and it's looking like Loki W surely are going to be okay, but still, there is just so little time left here. Owen is about to spit all of the souls up into the air. Oh my God, Abrahams, unbelievable. I can't believe they managed to delay it for so long.
That is probably the best case scenario
just
for them.
play the Benny Hill music on that clip of him just running around the pillar.
Yeah, the pure stall from Satan is insane. He's got the build to support it too with the Dispel Magic. I mean, Loki W were certainly starting to sweat, especially when the 4-mana Flick came in, but great composure from them to not back down. With 4 people afflicted, they still find the way through the fight.
It's definitely making the games closer
to the kills and the earned dunk. I think they got pretty much all the souls for themselves. With of course the cleanup coming in and 2 buffs for their trouble. So Abraham's now potentially in a rough spot this game. Almost a 10 key lead opening up against them.
Empty Dreams getting messed with a little bit, but if we look at the souls, it's interesting because yes, Abraham's are behind a little bit, but Arzo is doing really well right now on Venator. And oh, big swap there. That's a deep swap. Of course, the silence through the time wall, and suddenly really big problems for Overkim. How's he going to get out of this one? Is there an assistant? No, there's nothing. There's no tools to work with.
Tankbuster, slowing hex, suppressor.
Yeah, you don't want to be too confident in those assistant teleports in this level of play, right? Whether it's the slowing X's, the stuns, the layering is just really clean here from Abraham, showing that they still have a lot of fight when it comes to these pick-off games, right? With Abrams and Calico, you know, Pocket and Paradox, there's a lot of explosive burst that can come out very quickly for people trying to keep these lanes out.
Okay, so, you know, Abrahams, I mean, they're looking pretty good right now. Obviously, they are behind a little bit, but it feels like maybe their time is upon us. Kinetic Carbine. It's going to get negated by the cube. The urn's coming up, and right now, feels like the priority on the map is generally even.
I think everyone's got
a big collection of players from both sides in that mid position. Now starting to gravitate a little bit towards the urn, perhaps, as the lanes are a bit more pushed right now by Loki W.
Zergy really wants to get towards that Merc Mag. Pretty early buy for that item. See if it pays off. Going on a Viscus who's already rolling is an interesting choice. Vrake is just going to pack his bags and get out of that one. Here comes Zergy, though, getting on top of some of the backling here from Abraham. Loki W now piling on the aggression. Not a major soul advantage. And actually, Zergy gets caught. Big stun comes in. They execute just a little bit out of range, but he takes out the Together's knife. Taz also falls, so a 5v5, a little bit better health for Loki W. And they will punish Together for going so deep.
A good cleanup, and it might get even worse here, and it could even lead into a mid-boss potentially if more kills are converted from this one. Loki
if you do it for a month now, later in the year it'll be easier.
Masterful is surviving for a long time, but he will die, and the urn is going to be dunked, and the King of the Hill battle will start. But I don't think it's going to be much of a battle here. Abraham's not really with the players to deal with this, but again, looking for the trade, and Empty Dreams might just get this one.
Yeah, able to find this Walker would be massive.
He should
for
get
Empty
it.
Dreams himself. He's going to get hugely farmed. He's going to afflict the tower, pop everything, try and finish this one off, but I think it cost him his life. He doesn't teleport out. Okay. So it just baits. I think Zergy was chasing the cloak, but Pocket could be in real trouble now. Doesn't quite have the suitcase up yet. Caught with the petrifying bola. But where's the damage fall? Zergy actually has to play for his life now. The assist has come in. Zergy finds himself afflicted. Empty Dreams will get cleaned up, but it does cost the carry of Loki W his life.
Yeah, very interesting situation right now. Chased down here by the secret shop. And you have Sonya Sniper trying to escape this one.
It's like a tiny bit of spirit damage.
There's a Rabbit Hag's coming in. It's going to whiff though.
And I think it slows.
The fight continues. Nice lockdown there, finding Allistic into the wall. And that's going to allow Saint to help.
I thought it was kind of useless, but I slightly changed my mind on it now.
Here against Hoot. I don't think you want this fight, though. You've got to be very careful.
And obviously you can't get shot in it.
I can see on Hoot, so when he gets into Lycan Curse, it's going to be very, very difficult for Arzo to do that damage.
Yeah.
Arzo and Cosmetical right now is kind of gearing up for a clash of titans between these two, both at 27,000 souls, so both are massively ahead of the game. Rabbit Hex onto the Shiv is a consideration of going for the commit. An early execute attempt, not going to be successful. Together, he is thinking a bit from the bloodletting, but a big swap potentially grabs Break.
I did know that.
Massive find by Taz. Viscus got a little bit too big for his britches there, and
I did know that, but
maybe they're going to look for more as well off the back of that. Who stands his ground? They're not going to give up the mid control so easy.
There we go. The bullet comes in, but Seismic Slam. Oh, looks to deny, but no. That shotgun The buckshot really hurts, and
I mean, he's a
Are we going to go for the drop here onto that? Well, actually, hey, they've got some kills maybe in the path. Empty Dreams goes down, gets caught in close quarters. That's not where you want to find yourself as Pocket. And what do I hear? I hear the Irodomini in the distance. And there we go. It gets popped by Arso as he looks for some damage.
Can he find these exits? Listic actually pops his ulti there from the Affliction. Cosmetical has to just be all the way back to base. And so even though Empty Dreams does go down, I feel like he's really feeling the pain of these entangling Vola and the slowing hexes just layered constantly on top of him. Definitely was going to want to pick up Dispel Magic sooner rather than later. But the damage from the Affliction's enough. There's not going to be any kind of mid-boss attempt just yet.
Yeah, Cosmetical was like 1 HP. If they had converted that Cosmetical kill, that's probably the difference between them getting mid-boss or not for Abrahams. And I mean, they've been trailing a little bit for quite some time in this map, so we'd really love an opportunity to take some momentum like that, but they'll have to work harder for that. And you've got Loki W here that have a lot of players here towards mid, looking to go for these plays, these pickoffs. But both teams, they're so good here, Jake, at just not overcommitting, you know, just pressing enough
Abrahams
to maybe
just
get an
work
opportunity,
together
but
as
just
a
not
team
overstepping
anyway.
that line that they
ever
would
fully
themselves
separate.
risk giving up something.
I mean, at this level of play, I feel like this is really the dance that determines your ability to compete at the highest level. It's like, can you battle for the control of this mid-wave area, right? Whoever gets to stand here has a better path to the side waves, better ability to show up to these team fights when and if they do break out. Seems to be pretty evenly matched between Abrahams and Loki W, which shouldn't be a surprise given the history of these two teams. Nobody wants to make a big mistake. There's a moderate lead for Loki W, but between these squads, I really just don't count this for much at all.
Yeah, still less than 10,000 souls separating the two teams. Chase down, found onto Listic on the left side lane. But there is assistance coming across. In fact, there's going to be 5 players here for Abrahams, actually, in the vicinity, looking to try to convert. And we talked about the dance, and Ballistic, he's going to lose the shocking reanimation. Can Loki W turn the fight now back in their favor as they start to push forwards onto Abrahams? They've got 5 players here, Abrahams, but they're actually 1 down. A 6 turning up for Loki W, pushing the issue for these kills, and Taz is the first to die.
Beautiful suitcase gets Empty Dreams out of trouble, but the Cosmetical just zones everybody back, bringing his strength to bear in a huge way in this fight. Affliction's expiring now on Hoot and Listic. Listic's gonna have to go base and take a reset, but it's so far a 2 for nothing and maybe more to go down. Together actually wants a little bit of this fight. Still has some health to work with on the Shiv, but just trying to run away now, it seems. Hoot on his trail. And oh no, not a catch on Arzo. This would be a nightmare scenario. The one who's farmed so much. Saint now puts his life on the line, trying to just push back this wolf for a moment. And it seems to have been enough. That allows Arzo the opportunity to slip away to the tower. Some nice play from Saint. Not much time on these spawns. If Loki W want to force something, they've got to do it right now.
Well, they might be just be going for that force of the mid boss here. It's been pretty close. Abrahams have kept themselves within spitting distance of a contest. Will they make it there in time? They've got to go for the dive here. They cannot allow these rejuice to go for free. They've got nothing else to play for on the map. They're gonna surely go for the dive here, but they're gonna just be frankly too late.
And Ebola catches onto the Venator. Arzo getting run down. This is Hoot's trademark play, just absolutely dominating your M1 carry. And Arzo Saint, they just do not have the tankiness to stand tall. Taz falls as well, and Loki W in what now feels like a familiar scene between these two teams picks up the decisive advantage in this game. It's going to be an earned dunk for them. It is disfavored against them, but I just don't think that matters with so many players on the deck.
And then they're just
HP's not amazing, but Loki W are going to be very happy to open some walkers here and get some of those crucial slots online.
But it's like last week, they were like,
yeah, this is quite the turning point there, the mid-boss dive.
The end fight.
And I wonder if, you know, where you see some of the differences being made here in these fights, I wonder how much of it is, for me, a lot of it's, you know, the silver and also the rabbit hex. I think both of these are 2 insane factors. Like, it's so hard to fight against the silver and Lycan curse. It just disrupts your fight so heavily. And then the rabbit curse as well. It's like a curse for like an entire team. It's insane.
Yeah, it's proving to be a real challenge. Dan, I'm going to hit a quick reset on my connection here, see if I cannot get a stronger connection to this call, getting a little bit of packet loss.
All right, well, guess you guys just have me then for 5 seconds. Although, are you back, Jake?
I am back-ish. You sound a little bit better this time.
Oh, nice. Was I robot mode?
I think it was me. My connection was a little suspect there.
Nice. Okay, well, we've got the golden statue buffs on screen at the moment. Victor is consuming them.
He's sorting out all the
expected. The stick there. You got to keep yourself alive. And it is quite tanky, going straight in for this one. Using that aura to slow him down. Oppressive force here for Loki W now. They're just able to push so hardcore. I mean, the Victor, the Wolf. I mean, what do you do when this is running at you?
Well, right now, you pray, and the prayers may not be getting answered as Hoot is able to go in, takes down Saint. And it's another tag-in right now, Dan, as Jake's connection fixes itself, just going on in. Just like Hoot, whose Wolf form is still up post-reset, this time looking for a piece of the priest, is Arzo desperately trying to get away. Not going to happen, though. Stuck here in the corner, run down. Loki W able to finish the last few kills, and still with 2 rejuves in the bank.
Okay, I'm finally back. I can see the feed. I think I'm okay now. Things seem to have stabilized on my side. But ZP, appreciate all the tag-ins today. Truly, we are becoming fighting games here.
Yeah.
And
I was trying to think of like a WrestleMania type of reference there, but I can't quite get there, but something like that.
I don't dare mess with the wrestling references. I do not know a thing about that, and I know people will get mad if I mess it up, which I will.
Jake stays in his lane.
All right, now
Wait,
an opportunity.
You still here, Jake? Okay, cool.
Yeah, to push,
there was a silence. I'm like, I don't know.
Push the base, letting it breathe here. I mean, you got to start worrying now. Abrahams are getting desperate. They throw a big affliction in, but Listic does not care. I mean, he just pops a Scourge on himself, running it down on the Shrine. He wants to just pop this ult and get the siege going. Ooh, unfortunately, does take the curse. I don't think that was intentional.
Yeah, I never want to take a curse, man. You've got to avoid that, but Loki W, they're still looking so strong. Couple rejuves, still ready to go here. Keeps them feeling very happy with their levels of aggression. Staying in the base. Not looking to burn the rejuve there. For Hoot will back away. And so the team is going to escape. They've got a Shrine, though. Oh, okay. This changes everything.
Hoot maybe have no choice but to fight this out, but the rejuve expires. Oh, just before it expires, they kill him. They could have maybe delayed that kill for a second. So Hoot comes back off the spawn, and with Overkim in the neighborhood, it feels a little bit scary to chase.
When you kill someone
Together,
with
it fades the
rejuve, you still
rapid
get
hex, but
the souls for the kill, don't you?
And they got what they wanted, and I think, big problem here is we see the hero damage. We can see definitely Hoot absolutely crushing it. Also, cosmetical, you'd expect that on the Mina, but the viscous damage from Vrake, I feel like that's kind of what you're talking about earlier, Jake, with all the viscous love. Like, viscous can just be maybe a little bit slept on in terms of that consistent damage output, especially around these objectives with the splatter.
Yeah, Tank Buster is massive, and just cycling splatters one after another. Like, the longer you stay in these protracted engagements, the more cooldown cycles Viscous gets, the crazier the damage gets. I will say a lot of the damage is kind of wasted, hitting players who are just going to heal it up anyway and aren't really kill opportunities, but it is just one of those things, adds on to the pressure that the other team is on against. And with a 43,000 soul lead here developed for Loki W, we have well and truly reached desperation territory for Abrahams. No major objectives up for the next minute or so. But you got to pick and choose your spots now. I mean, it feels like Abraham's desperate to find a way back into the series here.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult. I think 2 things that stand out for me is that Together and Saint, they're not really very farmed, and they are the front line of the team. And the front line right now, I mean, all game, in fact, it's been getting eaten by Hoots, quite literally. As Hoot looks to see what he can do here to lock down Empty Dreams. And Empty Dreams will be still just like those. I was like, wait, it's not even carrying or facing.
I mean, I think that was intentional, but maybe gonna get punished for it. Who's gonna try and hit this rundown? A finish on the pocket would be massive. Would be just what they need to maybe commit in for a base siege. It's a stolen ulti, I believe, from Sinclair here. I don't think he's popped it yet. It's just gonna be an affliction onto Sonya. They're trying to go in on Hoot with the Lycan Curse starting to expire. It's a good opportunity, but the price already been exacted. Hoot tanky enough to buy time, and Zergy is just eating them up now in the back line. Saint gonna come back down to the low ground, gets a nice 2-man pin, but where's the follow-up? The rest of his carries, they're just running for the hills. They're trying to stay alive, and even Saint won't be long. The lethal venom from Zergy finishes him off. Unstoppable vampiric burst. This game is well and truly over.
Yeah, it's been a very rough game. I think what's been interesting to me is that Zergy has been in this great position where he hasn't really needed to do too much, because there's so much taking attention away so much. I mean, who is one of the biggest attention farmers, I suppose, if you want to put it that way, on the warfare? It's just such a big problem, an outsized issue to deal with in these team fights that just gives so much space, I think, consistently for the likes of Zergy to play with. And I have to wonder, Jake, you know, is Silver a ban?
Yeah, I mean, with Hoot on the team, it feels like you just don't want to give this guy Silver. He can get so much done with it. I also think Cosmetical, though, he's been the star of the show for me in this game. I mean, top to bottom, had a really strong lane on the Mina. Like we highlighted how hard Empty Dreams had it. Empty Dreams did have a pretty decent economy out of it, but Cosmetical has been able to really throw his weight around in this series in a way more effective manner than the opposite number. Arzo has definitely struggled in this one. And with, you know, half the team on fire, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that Abrahams find themselves in a brutal scenario here. You almost need to get that, like, dream affliction. First stage patron might just go down without a fight. I think Abrahams almost can only defend in their own pit here.
Yeah, this is not a good look, and for Loki W.
Magic Carpet Pocket will surely be a key part of the recovery here, as
did he pick one off?
Some desperation from.
Yeah, he's cruising.
Okay, he gets one man affliction after all that trouble. I mean, there's not much you can do here. A 5-man affliction in the throne. The Mina ult being laid in over the top, but yeah, Abraham's just, they know they have no business left in one.
Well, that's going to do it, as going in, Loki W, able to make potential man, actual win man. You know, I didn't think that one through whatsoever, but look, Loki W, they take first map against Abrahams, and to me, the big change here was that they had answers, Jake, for the Abrams Calico. It was not quite the game of Silver dying on repeat, because this time around, Hoot actually had backup.
Yeah, Hoot was amazing in this one. You know, I think we saw that, like, hey, the Silver, you know, her death has been greatly overstated. You have a couple more options, more players backing you up in the front line, and you could just run them over. Like, even Hoot did, you know, he does go down in a lot of the fights in this game, but it feels like every time he dies, he almost made the choice to sacrifice himself for the team. He made enough space, you know, forced enough attention from the enemy that the rest of his squad are just cleaning house. I mean, Mina and Viper are probably two of the best of the carry role to be able to, like, run your backline down while your opponents are distracted by a Silver.
All in all, yeah, I mean, it's a big change of pace, just seeing the different draft that you had from Loki W. Dan, I know, of course, you weren't able to get in the draft, but you saw the majority of the game. You know, what really stood out to you?
Yeah, I saw the results. Yeah, I think Cosmetical and Mina, like Jay called out, was definitely huge. Sinclair, I think, is something that stood out a little bit more because we don't get to see it quite as much. And I think, obviously, the disruption from the Rabbit Hex to me was just really powerful in a lot of these fights, especially when you have already Hoot just creating so much space, and also around these types of gunfights as well. I think the Rabbit Hex, it goes really huge in a lot of these moments to help to control the situation, and it just feels like a really big problem to me. And I know it's one of those things that a lot of people are expecting might catch a nerf for a while, because especially if you're getting a Mystic expansion and so on, like you're going to be able to essentially, especially with Echo Charge, you can just like have an area of effect curse, which lasts for like a very long time.
Cosmetical just kept
I think the Sinclair play and the Mina play would be my answer, yeah.
Jake, when it comes to hero priority, I gotta ask you a question. This is a deadlock game to save your life. Your life is actually at stake. Who do you want on your team right now? Do you want Pocket or do you want Silver?
Oh, it's such a tough call. I guess I'd go Silver, but, you know, I think the Pocket did show that it is a real threat this game. Like, it was up against Mina Viscus, which honestly, it has to be like one of the hardest lanes for Pocket to play against in terms of huge spirit nuking in the early game, and he still came out of it with a pretty good economy. The afflictions were one of like the few ways back into this game for Abraham, so I don't expect the Pocket pick priority to drop too much, maybe just making it past those ban phases. But yeah, definitely, you know, it could be a scary one to go up against, because I feel like Abraham's, this is the draft they probably would have wanted going into this series, and to get beaten back like this in a pretty convincing win by Loki W, for me, it sort of impugns your very theory of the game. It's like do you have to just change things now? That never feels good for a competitive team.
Dan, as I look at the stat breakdown, and this really caught my eye in the middle of the game when we called for the damage breakdown mid-game. Overall, when we've seen Paradox do well recently, you know, Paradox has gotten a lot of value off of Bomb. I mean, a lot of that was the previous earn, which is a little bit more easy, the Bomb max on. But, you know, you take a look at Taz, who normally has been one of the more prolific Paradox players in the game's history. It didn't really feel like this was Taz's game in multiple ways. Not only, you know, being the victim in a lot of these fights early on, but, you know, the damage also significantly lower than what we've kind of expect for Paradox if you're going to invest a high pick in the hero now.
Yeah, it definitely felt like Taz wasn't able to really have the same level of impact that you would expect. And I definitely felt it, you know, there were a couple nice catches here with the paradoxical swaps, like here and there. But ultimately, in the more impactful fights, Taz didn't seem to have the same like kind of level of control that maybe you would expect. And I think again, kind of some of it does come down to the fact that I think also, you know, having the Lycan curse available for Hoot to be able to just run at you and not have to respect the timers, and
hopefully sooner than Wednesday.
For Taz, I think, had a little bit less impact in some of these scenarios. And in addition to that, you know,